Great, we all set?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I will call to order the meeting of the Board of Water Wastewater Commissioners for November 15th, Friday at 9 a.m. We have a full board here, so we have a quorum. There is no public presence, so no public comment section. Our minutes we're going to hold until our next meeting, and we have no abatements today, so we're down to old business, which is a discussion on some of the issues we've been discussing about charter conflicts or ambiguities, and also has been brought up a couple of times, issues regarding a district, just to discuss them. So I will tell my fellow board members that I did make the effort, finally made the time to look at our charter, which there's a copy of in there, and then to look at every single Mass General law related to anything mentioned in our charter or in our regulations, including going back to the laws of 1935, when the water department was initiated in this town. And I am sorry to report that my hope was incorrect. I felt that if we could draw the powers that come from the state, from the powers given to us as water commissioners or sewer commissioners, then we could pull those down into the town and have them override or trump the regulations in the town that we've been having difficulty with. And now, remember, this is only my opinion, and Jason and I have talked about a method going forward with experts, so I'm just taking you up to this level, because this is my opinion as a layperson. You know, I'm not an expert in this. But I also looked at, for years, we've all been saying that the library in town, who is another autonomous board, an elected board, they had done a lot of work to improve their charter to solve some difficulties they had been having with staff issues and responsibility issues. And I was surprised to learn that actually the changes that they made to charter only got them to the stage that we are already at. They had an issue, and this, they're similar to us, so this ties into us. This isn't just, happy talk. So years ago, I remember they had an issue when they had appointed a new employee who was not the director. And at that time, the select board and the town administrator previous to the current one had insisted that they come before the board to approve that approval. And the Ginny and the library board objected because they said that they have autonomy for their staff. And in fact, when they looked into it, the local charter said that they were only had the responsibility for appointing their professional staff, which was considered to be Ginny, the library director. Whereas in fact, the state laws said that they had the authority to appoint the staff. So it was everybody, not just Ginny. And that was true. Our charter was wrong. That was put through, and it was corrected. Of course, we have never had that problem. Nobody has ever said that if you hire another electrician or anybody else, that has to go up, down. So in that case, we were a step ahead. We never had that issue about appointing new people. We appointed them, and that was it. So then I looked into some of the other things that the library had proposed, and I don't know whatever happened with them. They're not part of our charter. But my conclusion as a layperson, till we pull in more professional advice, is that, and I've heard Alan say this, it seems like collective bargaining trumps everything. For instance, in some of the research I did in the library, because I thought they had it nailed, Now, these were things they proposed. I don't know whatever happened to them, but they didn't wind up in the charter. And for instance, they say things like, all appointments shall be within the limits established by collective bargaining agreements, personnel bylaws, or otherwise. They further go on to say, the board, this is the library board, shall implement such practices and standards as established by the select board and town administrator, which are designed to achieve uniformity for all town employees. And the other thing that I kept stumbling against was even in, which is in the packet, our, the first thing that people tell you to go to in terms of our charter, the line, of course, on section 69B, the important line for me anyway is the first one. The water commissioners, blah, 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 under the authority of section 39A of chapter 40, shall have exclusive charge and control of the water department and water system, subject to all lawful bylaws and to such instructions, rules, and regulations as the town may from time to time impose by its vote. And to me, that includes collective bargaining agreements. So with that all said, I think there are things that we can do to, clean up the charter anyway. Sure.
And I'm sorry to interrupt you, just for clarification, when you read the part about the library commissioners, what I heard was that their charge is to, it's not the correct word, but mimic what the town does, and the select board and the town administrator. So do they actually do collective bargaining with their employees?
And I don't believe so. I didn't read it that way, but I mean, I don't believe they have.
Do the hiring? I don't.
What, dear?
Or is it all done through town hall?
I'm not sure about that, honestly, about the library and hiring.
Okay, hiring is fine.
Well,
See,
the whole thing, not just hiring, but.
well, it's separate. Like, we can hire, but we can't give somebody a raise. They can hire, but before this, their change, they couldn't hire. Now they can hire like us, but we can't give somebody a raise. That's the
So
crux.
they don't do collective bargaining? Or can you just reread that sentence?
Sure. All appointments shall be within the limits established by collective bargaining agreements. So it's the agreements already made by the town, personnel bylaws or otherwise.
Can you back up like 2 lines? Because it wasn't clear who was doing the agreements.
But this didn't get adopted.
Oh, this did not get it, oh, this is not.
These were just ideas they did in their
Thank
research.
you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, so at any rate.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, in that scenario you're talking about, they can appoint.
Right.
That's hiring.
Right.
Okay, but they don't use that word.
Well.
And so the way I'm reading this is our biggest problem here is we can hire,
Right.
right? But we can't give the raise.
Right.
So that to me is a needed change.
Well, that was our goal.
Right.
But what I'm trying to lay out here is that I don't believe we can get to that goal simply by pulling in the authority given to us by the state.
But can we ask for that in a charter change
Well,
or go to the town meeting?
Through town meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
so is
Yeah.
that
Town
possible?
meeting
Yeah.
is
That's
where,
allowed?
Well, you can ask for anything, Susan.
if it goes through, it has to go to town meeting to be
Right.
approved. Once it does that, then it can move forward.
Because I think we have evidence now that it sort of needs to, that it's a necessary power this board should have.
I don't disagree,
Okay.
all right? But I'm
So
not,
that's a-
but
so
you
that's a
are
yes.
further down the road than I am.
Well,
See,
I
thought-
always go down the road.
Okay. Should I say I'm a parliamentarian, like our town administrator?
No, this is good,
I was researching this whole book full of rules that I did.
I just didn't know if I'd heard you
Yeah.
correctly, that's all.
All
Yeah.
right, so let me get there, guys.
I actually, I really wasn't aware of any problems as far as raises and stuff like that. usually what happens is the department head puts it in the warrant, it's approved at town meeting, and it's gone. Otherwise, you just
How does the department head put it in the warrant, Alan?
put an article in. That's what we've done for
I'm not,
years.
I remember when the Council on Aging did that once, 10 years ago with Ray Gotwell, but I'm not really aware of what you're referring to.
In some cases, cost of living is usually done by the Board of Selectmen.
Right,
It covers everybody.
Right.
But usually, there's a pay scales, that type
Right.
of thing, and a generally follow.
but I'm not aware of department heads controlling that pay chart.
In the past, we've done it.
All I can say is I'm not aware of that. I've never, 15 years, I know you've had 40
I'm
years
not
of
aware of
town
that either.
You're
meetings,
not
but
aware of that either?
So
no.
I
It
have-
never
I
happened
have
in
a question.
15 years. Whether it happened before that, I wouldn't know.
Yeah,
Is it
I'm-
needed now?
No. I mean, I wouldn't want every department head putting in an article for each of their employees for a town meeting, would you?
Well, I don't know.
You should-
I mean,
Okay,
because when you get to-
Alan has the floor.
In the past,
Yeah,
usually the selectmen, finance committee said a cost of living increase, stuff
Right.
like that, goes through town meeting,
correct.
and it's all addressed. But steps and stuff like that, it's a recommendation of department head, it goes through in the budget. Once it's approved, that change in position is approved and the employee gets paid.
Okay, so, go ahead.
I was just gonna add that that's true in essence, because the step increases and
Right.
longevity, all of that is within our budget.
Right.
That then gets approved
Right.
at town meeting article. It's when you want to, say, reclassify
Right.
someone. If this board wanted to reclassify the superintendent or reclassify one of us, we could put that in our budget, but generally it gets reviewed and we're gonna have a budget meeting and the current administration will pull that out.
Yeah.
No, this has to go through collective bargaining. So that's been the approach is,
Oh, see, that's something new.
yeah, it seems to
That
be
never
that they
was-
reclasses, or even if you guys were all on board and said,
Right.
we want to, we'll budget for it.
Right.
We pay for it, enterprise fund, but it ends up being pulled out when we go for budget review, because this is collective bargaining.
Right.
You can't do this.
So that came about by the union,
Right.
Probably,
definitely.
yeah.
We've had many within our union that have been done through an MOA or an
Yeah.
MOU. It doesn't have to wait 3 years to the next contract. And current administration, that's their MO about it. The previous administration did it in between negotiations. If it was needed and necessary and agreed upon,
Yeah.
they would do it mid-negotiation with MOA or MOU. Current administration has tried to push those. No, that is, wait, you have to wait till collective bargaining. So, so there's not a,
No fluidity.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it worked well the way it was.
It does unless you want to reclassify someone, or, if you want to, if somebody's hired and it's decided they're coming in at a grade 5, we can do that, or a step 5, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So we can start them at a higher step when they come on, and that's part of the hiring process. But it's really about moving that grade to another grade, where it
Right.
becomes collective bargaining, or MOA if it's a union position.
So is
Or-
what Alan's talking about way back?
I'm not sure if, historically, probably through some town administrators, we have been able to reclass people within the
probably
budget,
was,
because
yeah.
we've done it. I know
Yeah.
through 2 superintendents ago, we were successful
right.
in that if he wanted to promote somebody and reclassify them, we captured it within the budget.
Yeah,
And it wasn't really balked at much. It was like, okay, this was our budget, this is what we did.
right,
But it all depends on the town administrator that's in the role, because they oversee all of personnel except for personnel bylaw.
yeah.
Yeah, but the one catch, even that, it had to be done so that when it went to town, when the budget went to town meeting, those kinds of things were addressed and funded. Otherwise, you couldn't just do that.
Right, we would have captured it within our budget, like I would have presented, we would have put in here,
Yeah,
okay,
put
we
it
want to
in.
move so-and-so,
Yeah.
we're going to reclassify this
Yeah.
position, the board feels, the superintendent recommends, the board agrees, we put it in the budget. When we go for budget review, it's an increase,
Yeah.
and it's going to be, it's going to be seen,
Yep.
and it's going to potentially be pulled out because it should be negotiated by, collective bargaining, depending on the town administrator and how they want to manage the charter and what their role is, really.
Can I ask
See,
you a question
the
after you?
thing about the whole thing, in the past, the collective bargaining wasn't a part of this paper.
Right.
So that's something that's come along, last year?
The collective bargaining ends up having an article, or the town will put in an article anticipating collective bargaining, right, for
Ah,
COLAs. So
yeah.
that can potentially be an article that they put through, and most years I think they do, but then we go through years where there's no anticipation of it. That's evident to me,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, well, yeah, that's something new.
yeah,
That wasn't there before. It used to be pretty simple,
okay.
and,
I agree, it was a lot more simple,
Yeah.
and as we've gone forward, things have just become more difficult and challenging.
yeah, yeah.
Bob?
I agree, I think things have become more challenging and difficult. How does this affect the future with wastewater hiring and budgeting and looking for
Same, well, it will affect us the same as water, it's just that we will run into situations much more often, because we'll be looking for new employees. Water was established for many years with 15 employees in a certain structure, but
Yeah, I see that. So you're saying we will run into problems?
when
I don't see why.
okay, I didn't say that, all right?
Because
So,
wastewater is, to me, it's a growing
Right.
part of us that, are we aware, are we planning
Okay.
for that? And do we have the right to plan for it? And, I mean,
okay, so my answer would be that those things could happen, or perhaps not. Remember, well, yes, no, but I
Running
mean-
you for
But you need to
president.
run you, yeah, that's,
Oh, yeah, okay,
Or senator,
a
whatever.
little late.
it's very like,
But I mean, we've been reinforcing the idea that the superintendent should have a seat in the room at least for future collective bargaining when it relates to our employees. So that's something, and people in meetings have agreed to that. They said that the previous superintendent was involved in I'll get the initials wrong, but the IAF, not the HEA that I know of.
That's right, that's what I was just gonna correct is,
Yeah, no problem.
we haven't had the benefit,
Right.
our water staff that are members of HEA, we haven't had the benefit of having a department head
That's right.
there to represent, say, the work we do.
Yeah.
And yes, we're doing more, and yes, there should be more. So we don't have, HEA does not have a department head at the table when we negotiate. We have our negotiation committee, our attorney.
Right.
The town has just, the key players and their attorney, and we meet at the table. In my years here, 20 years, the superintendent has sat at the table to negotiate the guy's contract, the water union contract. So it's kind of been an exception, because I don't know, say, if for the highway union, if the director sits in on their negotiations, I don't think so. The HMEA goes through the same way that we go through, in that the link does not, to the best of my knowledge, sit in on the
Okay.
negotiation.
But let me add that I don't know what Link's job description says. His job description says he has
Okay.
a role in collective bargaining.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's always so many factors
And
when
it
you...
doesn't say like just technical versus office, right? It's collective bargaining.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've been on both sides.
yeah.
Yeah.
I've been on where I sat in on the meetings to collective bargaining, the contract, to now you're not gonna sit in, but you're gonna have input after the meeting's over.
And my question is the language strong enough to get your seat at the table, which we say we want?
Potentially, I mean, granted, we have 5 members here that are HEA. So that's our assistant superintendent, our assistant water superintendent, Tracy Wellesley and I. So we're all in HEA. But along with us is 65 other members of the
That's
town.
right, yeah.
So all different department heads. So yes, it would be nice to have someone there for our water staff. He wouldn't really be able to represent, the
Right.
rest of the departments.
That's right.
Nor would those department heads be there either.
Right.
Yeah.
You were there on October 15th when I brought this issue up. And Joe corrected me, because I mentioned that we wanted Jason to have a role at the table. And he reminded us that the previous superintendent did in fact have a role with the IA letters that I can never remember, but not with HEA. So, I mean, this has constantly been being brought up in the last year.
So it sounds like it needs to be cleaned up
Yes,
and
because,
made stronger so that Joe can't just interpret it to his liking.
Well, I don't think we've ever asked before,
well, the commissioners sent, when we were the board of 3, twice sent formal letters up regarding the new work that was coming in and they were not accounting for, right? And it was ignored. And this negotiation, for lack of another word, dragged out for,
Almost a year.
We were here
Yes.
then, are you talking
No,
about
we're
that one?
talking about the 3 admin staff members.
Yeah.
After doing wastewater and getting this
Oh,
all
yeah,
kicked
yeah.
off, creating the department as a group that we requested
Yeah,
to
I
be
know.
compensated.
But John and I were here, she said
Yeah.
John and I weren't here.
Where?
I,
Yeah, I think, yes, they
Yeah,
were,
or
they
maybe
were.
were.
Yeah,
But it
we were.
took, it took almost a year
Right.
to get that, and we do get $2.87 more per hour because we're doing wastewater work combined with our water, and we're, making it all happen.
And I don't want to get too deep
Executive
into,
session with
What,
the
dear?
administrator?
what, honey?
Were you with the executive session with the
Yeah,
administrator?
yeah.
You were there?
We've been here a long time.
Okay. My memory.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so at any rate, let's not go too far. As to we're dealing with a charter discussion.
I know, but what I'm hearing is, we're hearing a lot of the past and not.
Yeah.
Well, you have to look at the past to go to the future, is the way I look at
Well,
things.
okay, but at the same time, what is it we're asking for? or thinking?
Okay. What I thought was that things that are not outlined in our current charter could be cured by the powers listed in our state laws that govern us. As a layperson, but we need a higher authority, my conclusion is that is not true. We have all the powers now that the state says we should have, because it says we should have X, Y, and Z, excepting when the town has rules. And the town definitely has collective bargaining rules. It's, as it says, subject to all lawful bylaws, instructions, and regulations of the town. So we have as much as the state says we should have. That was what I was trying to find out. So, and we are going to get another opinion on that, which I'll get to in a minute, which Jason and I have talked about. So anything further we want to do with our responsibilities, I've hit a wall. I thought I had a way to cure these occasional things that come up, but I thought our answer was going to be in the state provisions and the laws of 1935, and it's not. The state says, you can do this, this, and this, but you've got to follow your local town rules. So I'm just laying that out. I'm not saying it ends there. I have another section to go on to. So, okay?
So, I have one question,
Sure.
a simple question, just for clarity
Yeah.
on my
Please.
end. When you put out a job posting
Yeah.
for, let's say, a new treatment operator, a new meter reader, whatever it may be, the board interviews,
No, you do.
I interview,
Yeah.
You gotta work.
I hire or I say this is the candidate, do you approve it?
No, you do. So
Or
we only
does-
hire you.
Right, now, do I say this is my selection,
Yeah.
and it goes to town hall, and they approve it?
Well, I wouldn't use the word approve when it goes to town hall.
Well, I think,
Are you
I
just?
think-
I don't know, I just want to know
That's
who,
what my
talking at once.
question is that, are you informing them, or does it require an approval that they've actually been hired?
right, that's what I'm going to say. This is the candidate that I have that would
That's
fit the
Sandy.
description in the department, and I say, this is the person I want to hire. When I say that, does it have to be approved by the town?
I
Sandy.
would say yes, because all of us, except for Jason's position, fall under the town administrator. So personnel falls under him, and then above him's the select board. So, say for instance, the last hire we had was the assistant wastewater superintendent. That took a year to get that position filled after it
was a
was
brand
approved in
new
town.
position.
Yes, it was brand new, but it got approved.
Right.
It took us a long time to get to be able to advertise
Right.
it. But Joe and Megan, I'm almost certain, were part of the interview process
Okay.
with Dan for that position. And maybe it's because the wastewater enterprise sort of is funded by
No,
general fund subsidy.
I shouldn't
don't know.
mention that so
Okay,
often.
okay.
Let's
No,
forget
but
about
just
that.
say,
Yeah.
so, yes, so
Because
the
we
town
are an
administrator
enterprise
and
fund.
assistant town administrator is acting HR
Yeah.
right now. They were part of the interview process with Dan.
Okay, let me just say that I shouldn't remind the world of that subsidy so often,
Yep,
because
I know.
however we get our money,
Yep.
we are a wastewater
Okay, you're
enterprise
right. No,
fund.
I shouldn't-
You know, so, and
Yeah, I
not.
have included
we-
that, but
We
it's
think
a
of
side
that because
piece.
we're financial
I know,
people,
I know.
you know. But so, no, anything that was done
Yep.
was not done because they give us $500,000 a year. But I will tell you that when we went through the process, when I had to do things on my own representing the board, I never let the word approved or anything else be used. You know, I guided the conversations, so it was always informed or agreed with or things like that.
Yeah.
Now, it's a, you know, we're passing words, but,
I think the recommendation of the superintendent goes a long way.
Right.
For these hires, in my opinion. Because he's the one,
Okay.
this
You know-
position is the one that's going to be managing that
and-
person.
can I,
and I'll get back to my original question,
Yeah.
sorry. That it would be in the law. So the management, where the Board of Water Commissioners manage the department. So part of managing the department is the hiring process and approving. You hired me, and you all signed that approval, and that went up there saying, this is the person I want to approve. But with my hire, do I say, this is the person I want, and I have to get approval by them? So that's
All
where
right,
I was
let me
wondering where the
Let me
manager.
answer. This is, if I could, this is something that we have not had a problem with, all right? Just to be clear, we've gone off of the things that we've had a problem with, and now we're talking about something that we have not had a problem with.
I agree.
So I don't know how deep we have to go into it, you know what I mean? We've always, the superintendent has selected the staff, whether when it goes up, it's the word, here's this, you know, let us know if you have any issues, or if it's here's this for your approval, you know, we're passing words, just let me, so, you know, I think we veered from the original discussion. We, as long as you place them on the existing pay chart, we've never had a problem.
No, and I understand
Yeah.
that. So, back to the charter, how the law is written. Well, it says, the water commissioners or the selectmen authorize such act to establish a town water supply distribution system under the authority, whatever, exclusive control of the water department and system.
Except,
So you have,
subject to the laws.
right, so
Subject
you
to
have,
collective bargaining.
you have exclusive control of the water system,
Right,
but the department.
not necessarily, exactly.
So that's what I was getting at,
Right.
like, when I do the hiring, this is the candidate that I would like, and it goes up there for their approval. whether, and I know that that has never. Recommendation, and I know that we've never had a problem with that, but I'm just saying that when it says on here, exclusive control of the water department, and the water system, no, because there are bylaws written in the charter
Right.
that says otherwise.
But then in section 6, with this handout, it says the Water and Wastewater Commission shall be responsible for the administration, maintenance, and operation of the water and sewer system and facilities. So to me, administration means administering. The definition of that is, and that would include an operation and maintenance implies.
Right,
And that's what Noreen was saying, I'm getting back to Noreen now, she was saying we don't, because it's written in the town bylaws.
But this is a town bylaw.
this is the charter.
Okay, the charter.
I have the bylaws here, but I'm not gonna pull them out, but
Anyways, all right, that was,
So we
that was
need to
my
read
thing,
through
is,
the bylaws, I guess.
where does the,
I've
No, I
read them
know.
all. I
It's-
mean,
it's
if you
vague.
can find something I
It's-
can't
it
find,
really
it's fine.
is.
I have a
that's all
proposal.
I've.
What's the proposal?
all right.
That's
Let me
what
get there, Bob. Okay,
I hope I didn't mix everybody else.
I haven't had any yet, I need some.
I'm back in 1935, so.
all right, yes. So, at any rate, currently, other than passing the word approval versus suggest or other things, as long as we hire people that are on the existing pay chart, we have had no difficulties, all right? So it's only been in an out-of-grade situation, or in an underpaid situation, a reclass, or something like that. So that's what we're looking for to the moment. Right now, we're cool, you know.
Can I ask a question about
Yeah.
that? So, looking at wastewater, do we have, is there like a chart proposed of what staff we will need?
Not yet, that's way down the road, many years.
It seems to take them many
Not
years to
yet.
even look at it.
Yeah.
Well, we'd need a lot more customers hooked up first.
No, not actual staff, but a roadmap of.
Yeah.
Not yet.
No.
We'll probably have to
Not
do
yet.
that. I mean,
Well,
that's
yeah.
gonna be a board duty in the future.
Well, on the technical side, there should be, like, if we're gonna cover 5 houses,
We
it's gonna take one technician, you know.
We should, you know, and we should look into that going forward, that we should write out, you know, a plan.
I agree, I think
Yeah.
it's really important
Yeah.
as these things start to happen.
Yeah,
Agreed.
So, you're, at this point, you're talking about the workload and how it's spread out
And just
amongst
what
the staff?
Future
the future
of
needs.
wastewater and what will be needed for staffing.
talking
and that
about
is part
wastewater?
of-
I'm hearing
We'll
two
need to
different
do
things.
that.
Wastewater.
We'll need to develop
Yeah.
that. It hasn't been
Just
done
gonna
yet.
flow, and we want
Yeah,
it to
no,
flow smoothly.
and like,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry.
what, Alan?
You know, because wastewater really isn't fully
Right.
established
Yeah.
at this point. So those are all things that should be on the table,
Yeah,
how that plays out. I thought you might be including the water.
well, I mean, I feel we're content with our water department right now, you know,
Rightly so.
yeah, you know, so I like
This is all,
Fair.
yeah, this is being read up over that dirty water.
the last 2 years, exactly, the years that you started with, the following years.
So, yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and I thought there was a way to solve those problems. It took a lot of research, but as a layperson, I feel I was wrong, so I just wanted to
Yeah.
let
It's
you
one
know
of
that.
those wait and see.
Yeah, right. I feel that the highest authority in terms of staff right now is collective bargaining. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm just trying to clarify where our responsibilities, you know, begin and end, you know, so.
And I would, if our superintendent is there answering questions or having some kind of input into the discussion, because he understands all the work
That's right.
that all of
Our needs.
our needs, then I would appreciate him being there as well
Right.
for our office staff, our
And
administrative
we
staff.
should write letters to that nature
We need
when the next
representation.
AGA contract comes out.
Yeah.
You know, absolutely. No problems there.
Yeah.
All right, okay. So, now that I've said all that, She's
Yeah.
making fun of me, that's all right.
Asshole.
You just heard the views of a layperson who did a lot of work. But Jason and I talked, and way back in the summer, I had contacted Mark Abrams, who, you know, is a big name in enterprise funds and stuff like that, because quite honestly, if you look at some town meetings, our town council veers more to the side of the town as opposed to the water wastewater issues. So we wanted more of an unbiased opinion. I abandoned that work in the summer because we were just going in too many directions with other things. But Jason and I thought that we should probably get another opinion, more knowledgeable than me, who may be able to confirm some of those conclusions I've come to and give the opportunity for the board to ask those questions and some other questions. So what we're thinking about is perhaps, like right after the holidays in January, we can have him, maybe by Zoom, because he's kind of expensive, but have a session with him, with the full board, where originally we thought we'd be hiring him to write a new charter, but now I don't think writing a different charter, as long as if collective bargaining is our issue, and if that trumps everything, you know, always nice to clean up your charter, but I don't think that solves the problem we were looking at. So we don't want to hire him just to write a new charter if it's not going to solve, you know, an issue. So I didn't know how the board felt about possibly having something like that happen.
Well, number one, we can't do that. It has to be by a charter commission,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
you know.
right. But you give them something to consider,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, you don't,
Is it, I mean, I don't see the town stepping up to pay for a charter review.
on just our section.
One issue.
No, we would pay for it through, you know,
Are we allowed to?
I don't think so.
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not pushing for it because it's not gonna solve the problem we had anyway, you know what I mean?
But the thing for us to do is collect those issues
Right,
and be ready.
that's right, for the
Because it's
charter
on-
committee.
You know, I think it's a 5-year period,
Yeah.
of charter review. I mean, I served on that. I served
I
on the
remember.
original. I've been on one second look, you know?
Right,
But I think we should just keep track of.
but I agree. I'll read you one that Sandy will appreciate because we go more the financial way. But this was one I found in the library's research that did not go forward at this point. But Sandy and I will love this, that we'd love to have in. They had one that they proposed that was, all funds raised and appropriated by the town for the support and maintenance of the library, of us, shall be expended under the direction of the board. And then it goes on, I won't read it all. But I mean, how many fights have I had in 3 years over them spending our money? So that would be one I would tuck away towards a future
Yeah.
charter rewrite that would make our, instead of me having to stand at the podium and, you know, yell and scream, I could just say, it's in the charter, you know, so those kinds of things we certainly could accumulate,
Yeah, actually, I remember when that came up.
yeah.
But, and you know, when I first served on the first charter, you know, it just, we didn't have those kind of issues then.
Right,
It's whoever's in the driver's seat,
yeah,
things change.
all right. Well, I'll let you think about whether we should meet with Mark, but I want to segue into a similar discussion, which is a couple of members have brought up the issue of exploring districts. And I don't want to ignore your interest in it, let me put it that way. I'll state right out that it's not an issue that I support, but I'm going to be very honest about this. Partly that's because of my age, because that type of thing takes many, 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 many years, And at my age, I'm probably speak for Alan, it's probably something that, I'm just being honest, that, would not be my direction in life at this time. But that's just a very personal statement, just so I can, give you why I'm thinking the way I am. But I don't want to neglect the ideas of other board members, right? So I took some time and looked through a lot of stuff on districts, particularly on the local one, the Dennis Water District. And they have, for instance, they have, see, what I'm thinking of is if we have, a meeting with Mark, there may be questions that the board wants to ask, because rather than just bringing up the issue over, not over and over again, but, once in a while, it'd be nice to know what's really involved and decide if that's really a viable thing people want to look at, or if it's, just talk. But for instance, in the Dennis Water District, the employees belong to the Cape Cod Insurance Group, but not through Dennis on their own. They are part of the retirement system, but not through Dennis on their own, through the Dennis Water District. Now that immediately says to me, oh my God, can you imagine the paperwork? All right, so then you need, this is just me, so then you'd need to do your borrowing, your everything. We pay the town $900,000 a year for what we call our indirect expenses. That covers, legal duties, it's not our insurance, is it? Mm-hmm. Our insurances, everything else, property insurance and everything else. I don't think we could get those services for $900,000 if we were to do that as an autonomous board, as a district. And I have a nervous feeling that going in that direction would increase our water rates, because we would have a lot more administrative expenses than we now have. But my biggest thing, as I read through the information for it, is that I don't see, and I'm not even going to talk about if it was wastewater, because we know how complicated it is. Just stick with water, just to make it clean. But I don't really see a benefit to the employees. The more I read, I said, how is any one of our employees, our current employees, going to be bettered by this massive endeavor? And then also I would say to the department itself, how is becoming a district going to make us a better department to serve our residents? And I don't see that it does. So I would say, and I totally respect, that's why I'm bringing it up, and I'll give you the floor in a second. Now I know how Gary felt, because I was always with the finger. He'd always be
She's
going,
holding me down.
He's always be going, put the finger down. He'd say, get this going.
I'm gonna move seats.
I moved my seat once and I moved it back, so but so be it.
True.
Hold your hands together. But at any rate, so I spent a few hours. It's certainly not a life's work, but I don't see a benefit to going in that direction. But for the people that think it might be an idea to explore, I don't want to shut your voices down. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't know if we did have Mr. Abrams in for a discussion on generalities regarding our charter, if also he might be able to shed some light to the group on more research than my 3 hours, you know what I mean? So, all right, I've said my piece, come at me.
Okay, my question is, the one group you didn't mention that could possibly benefit would be the customers. Is there
I
any-
don't see it, well,
let me finish.
all right, sorry.
I've been
You're
through the
right.
creation of a district
Yeah,
before.
that's right.
And we had a very bad water system, and we had no representation, and we had an elected board. So it was to our benefit to acquire this water system and create this district. And it took a long time, but then we started to be able to get grants and things, and it's 20 years later, it's made a difference. But we did have to increase water rates, and we did have to do a parcel tax for some of this.
Do a what?
A parcel tax on each,
Oh.
and it was like $185 a year,
What year?
every year.
No, but How far back?
We started this in 1989.
So if you charged them 185 in 1989, that would probably be 400 or 500.
No,
nowadays.
it was set.
Okay.
And I
see.
actually got a call
Oh.
from the water district about a month ago, asking my opinion if whether that parcel tax sunsetted. And I remember the discussion in the campaign we did, Measure J passed with 73% of the vote, we needed 2/3. But it wasn't our intention as a board then that the parcel tax would continue.
Ah,
And so now they're having this big argument with the water district, are we gonna continue this tax or even increase it? And they want the wastewater also, which isn't in the water district yet. And so it can be a mess, but I think it should be looked at least, to say to the customers, what are our boundaries, that needs to be looked at. And I have a feeling in years, maybe we won't be sitting here, but they're gonna wanna push wastewater into this. Because it's in the laws.
I mean, as I say, I don't agree for my own person, I'm not looking to go forward for that for my own personal reasons. We're talking about, probably 8 to 10 year enterprise, but,
It doesn't seem
people.
to be like a need right now, does it?
Well, all I'm saying is, if people are interested, I'm happy to facilitate looking into that. But I am happy with the water department where it is right now. I'm happy with being part of the town of Harwich. We've had some difficulties that we will continue to try to iron out. I'm happy with only paying $900,000 a year for all of the services that the department and the employees get. I don't know if our negotiating abilities with the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group would be the same benefit to our employees when we're negotiating from the point of view of a small water district as opposed to part of the whole, I don't know. But I'm content where we are. But if there are people who want to look in a different direction, we figure out how we do it.
Do you have an opinion on a district?
If you're already an established on a district, I worked for a district, you have to hire a treasurer.
Right.
Okay, so that treasurer does basically all your accounting, does all of your books, does everything. It'd be similar to what you're doing. They have to go to class, they have to be certified. Then, if you're already established, yeah, it's great. My feeling on this is if it's not broke,
Break it.
fix what you can fix. And shore up what you can shore up. So whether it's the contracts from everybody, how do you do that? And then just ask Mark Abrams and what he thinks. But I agree. I think going to a district, I think it's going to be a lot. That'll be a lot, and I think you're going to get a lot of pushback. I don't know.
Right here, number one, no district. It's been like here, 1938, we're done all right. We just, the players are different. The water's still full.
And I would just ask, because I didn't know we were going to be discussing districts today, because it's not there.
Sorry.
If you just circulate whatever it is, or have these guys circulate whatever it is you're reading, because I'm an academic, and for you to tell me what the facts are without me seeing the facts, it just doesn't fly with me.
Okay.
And no, and I always need time I'm a slow reader, I need to digest things.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you doing the research, but I'd like to know what you're researching,
Okay, so just so you'll know, I'm not going to circulate it because I printed the website and my printer.
But just like if, in advance of any meetings where we're gonna have this
Okay.
discussion, if you just send, or you guys send, so it's not open meeting violation, just what you're looking at so that we know.
I think it was just a topic that she brought up.
Yeah,
Just
you
to
guys
discuss with
raised it.
Mark Abrams because other people
But
brought
I
it
don't know
up.
who Mark Abrams is.
So
First of all,
I'm surprised, I thought he was at some Zoom meetings, maybe you weren't at, but he's the one who runs the enterprise classes for like 40 years in the area. And he's really the enterprise fund authority in the area. I mean, it's,
Accounting,
I'm sorry,
Is it
because
Cape
it's,
area or Massachusetts?
What,
or
yeah?
In the Cape?
I don't know, if you
Or
Google
like
him,
New England?
He's off Cape.
yeah.
It's at the Abrams Group. He's off Cape. He does a lot of accounting. He comes in and does a lot of rate studies. He does a
Oh, he
lot
did
of.
our,
He,
He's done a lot of,
he's that really cool
he didn't do
spreadsheet guy.
the rate study for us.
Okay.
He didn't do the rate
Right, yeah.
study, but he has done enterprise fund classes for our board throughout the past. I've taken classes with him, I'm sure Jason probably has, Noreen.
Yeah.
He's really great at municipal finance and accounting, and he's like, everybody looks to him.
Okay.
Colleagues off Cape, different departments, he's well-known. So,
I've actually hired him a couple times.
yeah, he's
He
great.
does very well.
it's
And so I think what Noreen was saying was that some board members have brought that up,
Yeah.
and then we probably
Okay, just.
We ran with
one
it, but-
second. Yeah, so I really didn't have anything to circulate. I was responding to Bob's suggestion about districts a couple of times, and I didn't want to feel like I was shutting you guys down. So, sorry, I probably should have put the word on the agenda. But at any rate, I don't have anything to circulate because it's just their website. There's really nothing here. It just talks about their structure, you know, their,
Just, but just the idea that if we are gonna be discussing it, that, this would be a good place for all of us to take a peek before the meeting if possible, that's all.
I don't know enough about it to
Yeah.
Right.
do anything. And this is much different than my experience. so.
Well, I mean, Alan and I are not interested in a district, that's clear. I don't know how John feels. It always sounds like a good word, until you get into the nitty-gritty. So my thought was that both of you had expressed an interest in
I'm
it.
curious, and I get that, don't fix it if it ain't broke, but is there other things?
Is there
And
any
when you're
benefit?
talking about the budget and the number, I would wanna know, well, what would it look like if we were independent? And
I wouldn't know how to give that to you, I would have no idea.
you don't need to give, we can.
That would be a
Okay,
month,
that's
and that's what you said, a
That's it.
suggestion.
Yeah.
per
Can't
month.
hear you when you're on talking
It's
about.
running well, leave it alone.
I'm
It's
sorry,
been running
Jason.
like this,
We'll be fine, yeah.
What'd you say, Jason?
I said, this is what she was saying, just have Mark
Yeah.
on there. He's gonna give you the pros and cons.
Yeah, okay.
But if we don't have to spend the money to even talk to him about it, he's very expensive, then, so I guess I need to ask, does the board really have a serious desire to investigate the process to become a district at this time?
no.
Yeah, and my sense was it was because of these other issues that were popping up in the last few years. And that was one of the reasons I was interested in looking for a more autonomous structure than from town
Do you
hall.
know, our biggest problem is people.
That's why I was interested in the enterprise, to look at
No,
it,
still
to
people.
understand
It's
it.
still people.
It's still people.
This
Okay, let's get rid of
runs
people.
well. Leave
What, you
it
want all
alone.
robots?
It's been going like this for years.
Yeah.
Very content with it. Yes, ma'am.
So now I'll turn
Right,
to you,
wait for
so.
it to be called.
I was kind of taking a straw poll there. I heard Alan say, no, I just don't want to spend the money to have somebody discuss something if we're,
What does she got to say?
okay, Sandy.
Thank you. It's related.
Yeah.
Historically, 2 superintendents ago, under Craig Wiegand,
Yeah,
there was interest in becoming a district.
I remember,
And that
I
we paid
went
for a
nuts
study.
when I
and
was
it's
on
our
the finance
website, and I can
committee.
email you the
Oh,
link.
okay.
So you
So it
did a
will give
study?
you, they looked at, would we be better served
Oh,
at
perfect.
being under the DPW? Would we be
Right.
better served being a
I
district?
didn't
Would
know we had a
we
study.
be better served to stay as
Okay.
And
is?
then-
So,
And the outcome was as is, but that was like
Okay, but
12 years ago.
I've got to add on to
Yeah.
that because I was part of that. I was on the finance committee at the
Okay.
time. And that study was done when wastewater was first mentioned. It was initiated to find out where wastewater would best fit. Would wastewater best fit under the DPW, so you guys looked at everything. I believe you had 5 options. I never got a digital copy of that, but I did have a copy of it and read it. And that's how we wound up with this arrangement for wastewater, so.
One
I'd
of
like
the
to-
things
I'd like
is,
to
and
do a
I'll
copy.
send you all the link to it so you can look at it, because
Yeah.
it's probably, the foundation of it is
Right.
gonna be similar. If we
Yeah.
pay for a study, it's gonna be a similar gathering of current information and assessing. And the outcome at the time for the district was, we had too much debt.
That's
So
right.
it wasn't worth us doing it.
That's
We
part
had too
of
much
it.
debt. And when you look at our debt schedule, we really haven't changed it that
No.
much. As we're paying off things, we're adding on new projects.
Right.
So, yeah, I'll email a link to the study, and Mark Abrams could give us a good pros and cons type of thing. If we said, can you give us some pros and cons? I don't know, just a thought.
So, we were 3 people here from the on-staff
That's right.
department. When it came up about wastewater, 2 people got added, so now it's a 5-member board. But anything else, when we looked at all these various things, the best, and this is top shelf right here, the way it's going. You know, someday down the road, somebody else
That's right.
finds a good reason to change. But this works.
So,
Moving right along.
that's a lot of background. So how does the board, what's the board feeling about going forward with these ideas? I mean, we made some good progress with accumulate ideas anyway, which I'll continue to do, should there ever be a charter commission, you know, so we could have some thoughts ready for them to consider. That seems a given, but do you want to bring this back another month when you've had time to think these things over? What's your pleasure?
I'd like to see that study, that's about.
Right,
the only-
Sandy's gonna send it
I
out.
do
I
too,
don't really have anything,
yeah.
I don't want to vote for anything for.
No, I'm just asking opinions, no motion on the table.
I didn't know the study existed. This is kind of a moot point, because numbers can change over time. My concern was these issues that have come up in the last few years, that they do not happen in the future, and that as the wastewater department grows, it is smooth, it's fluid, and that the superintendent can run the departments without, town hall running the departments. I'm not
agree.
saying that very articulately, but I think you all know. So no, I mean, I want to read the report. Had I known that there was a
Yeah, me too.
report, yeah. We're kind of like geeky on stuff, you know?
Well, I like those kind of studies because it
Yeah.
lays it
I
out.
remember that one, I wish I
Absolutely.
had had it digitally, but
Yep.
that's because I've been on committees since I was born, you know, so.
That's good that they did.
Okay, so, yeah.
All right, okay, so that's information I've given you. If you, Sandy will send that link, and if we want to pursue this topic, let me know. We'll leave it at that for now, and certainly, I think we all agree that when we hear that the HEA contract is coming up, maybe our members of the HEA would give us a heads up, because we would never know any other way. We can at that time send a letter up to town reinforcing our insistence that the superintendent be involved in the room and at the table. We can come that far anyway, so that's good. Well, thank you. That's stuff we've been kicking around for a long time. And if you want any information on the laws of the state, give me a call. So, new business. So, it's that time of year. We're gonna move on to budgets. So Sandy has joined us to have the first look at our budget for the upcoming year. She needs to turn in our first draft by December 6th into town, so this will give us a chance to look at this. and then to bring it back at our next meeting. And of course, changes are always possible right up till town meeting, so that's the deal. So I'll hand it off to Sandy Seeger, our comptroller, and have her walk us through it.
Okay. I gave you this morning a worksheet, and this will be the best way. I think this is what we've used the past few years to walk through all the expenses. It is, you have it, Judith?
I think I've got two.
There's this one is water, and
Oh,
that one's
and that's
wastewater.
wastewater. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Great.
So, the first part of the expenses are indirects, and Noreen, the board chair, had recommended that we carry forward last year's figures. We're absent finance director, there's an acting finance director. Usually indirects are provided to us by the finance director. We're absent. It was decided to move forward last year's number. So
Can I
that has
clarify a
remained
little?
flat. Yes.
Bob, I knew that.
Sure.
Bob, see at the bottom here where it says total indirects? You'll notice that the number for last year and for this year, the 886, is staying the same.
Right.
That's because we're having a dispute with the town that came up with the most recent finance director, where she changed the formula, which obviously is a lot of money to us. And to resolve that, we have to pay for an expensive, long study to do it. And without the proper financial team uptown right now, it's just not the right time to do it. So that's why the number's identical, and we will, fight to keep that number where it is until we establish, which we should have per enterprise rules. We as a board should have a policy on indirect expenses, and we don't. So that is something we need to do, but we don't have the financial team uptown right now to provide the numbers needed to do that. So that's it.
Can I ask a
Sure.
clarification? So, town legal costs, does that come under the town administrative office?
They,
They haven't billed us.
no, they haven't billed us. They haven't charged us back for legal. We haven't really, under the previous superintendent, we did use them at times, but they haven't charged us back for that. So that is a potential item that we
Yeah.
could see on indirects, but they haven't charged us for that. The previous town administration, when we requested legal services, they would bill our department and we would pay through it through our professional services line item.
Okay.
And also,
that what you're saying?
I'll add in that a lot of the legal work that was involved in the last couple of years
I guess that's
was to do with wastewater.
That's
You know,
true.
That,
Yes, that's
so
true.
it was actually, Dan was accommodating the town
Yes.
because he would work directly with legal, because he knew more about
Yep.
the issue going on. So it wasn't really our expense anyway, so.
You can see that there's green line items and red line items. That was to make it easier to show what we're proposing for increases and decreases. And so the first increase or decrease is actually to electricity. I think we overestimated FY '25 based on our FY '24 actuals. What we did was took a 3-year average and we added a 9% increase. And that did reduce it though. It reduced our electrical cost. The next is our natural gas line item. Based on FY '24 actuals, we increased that line item by 9%. Please stop me if you have any questions. I'm gonna run through it. Vehicle equipment and maintenance, we increased based on FY '24's actuals. Same thing with building and grounds maintenance.
That seems like a big jump. What's in
It does,
there?
and what I could say is, this is what happens before we upgrade vehicles. We can spend a lot in maintenance and repair, and then we upgrade. So, we could do a 3-year average on that and probably reduce that a little bit. But,
No.
yeah, always a thought,
Yep.
Well,
actually, I was kind of looking at the building and grounds one
Yeah,
as well.
yeah.
That's not vehicles, right?
That one, no, that's not vehicles. That can be the maintenance that we do on all of our, all of our buildings and grounds, all our pump stations, garage, and it depends on the amount of work we have
Yep.
planned and the staffing, whether we're gonna be able to complete it all. That is another one where, a 3-year average could be used.
Yeah.
We hope to continue on, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on these buildings,
Yeah.
electrical upgrades, that sort of thing.
I know, I'm not suggesting it go lower, I was
Yeah,
just
no.
trying to find out his contents, because, I think the staff keeps everything in great shape, and we want to have the funds to
Mm-hmm. Yes,
continue to
yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
Plus, with a new superintendent, he's going to see things and think about things being done that we may not have thought of without a fresh pair of eyes, so, great.
The next increase or decrease is laboratory services, and that is a decrease. We raised it for FY '25 because every 3 years, I think, Jason, is that the UCMR?
Yes, UCMR 5s, yeah.
Yep,
So
is every 3 years we're required to run a whole list of extra testing.
So my question would be, with the new water management permit coming in, and the discussion that we're gonna need somebody or something to test vernal pools and things like that on a regular basis, where would that fall? Because that's gonna be additional work, so,
That would fall under professional services.
okay,
So it won't be so much testing, it will be somebody out there monitoring it.
Yeah.
So that's where we'd have a hydrologist, biologist go out there.
and that's not what you mean by hydraulic model, is it?
No,
Okay, so we're gonna be able to support the vernal pool work without an increase? I'm not following.
so that
Professional
you're looking
service.
at laboratory services, that's for water testing.
Okay,
So the professional services would most likely be I don't want to get,
Yeah, no, we
Yeah.
raised professional services by $50,000 for the hydraulic model, which is about $100,000 to $130,000. We're hoping to start the process, because it takes a year to complete. So we're hoping to start the process this fiscal
I
year,
see.
use 50,000.
Yeah.
And then next fiscal year, we'll
Right,
use another
right.
50,000.
So-
But we did not add in for vernal pool
Okay.
monitoring and that expense. Jason, I don't know how frequent, what
And-
that cost is. Is it significant that we need to increase it more? Something to add?
maybe I'd ask
Yep,
you guys to
absolutely.
explore that between now
Absolutely.
and our next meeting.
No, that's a great.
But on a
addition.
separate thought, I would say it'd be great if you could give us a little overview of the hydraulic model process, because it's very interesting.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And also, I'm going to be talking with somebody about the vernal pool next week.
Okay.
And some of
Yeah.
that, so I'll have more of I can get more of a quote from
Right.
them on what it would be.
Can you tell us now, though, for those of us who don't know a lot about it, a little bit about the hydraulic model thing that you're looking into?
Yeah, so the hydraulic model, what they do is they come in and right now you do have a hydraulic model, but it's so old. It might be out of date. What they're gonna do is come in and they'll take all your pipe sizes, they'll take all of your material that the pipe is made out of, your water storage tanks, your pumping stations, and they put that into a hydraulic model, and they know your hydraulics of your water system, what your deficiencies are, where you need to upgrade your pipe, where your fire flow needs to be upgraded in town, different things to that sort. And then what they'll do after that, when they have the hydraulic model done, they can do a new flushing program. So the flushing program is out of date. I think the last time it was 2002. Off of this hydraulic model, they're going to give you your best velocity and your flow, where to start, what gate valves to shut down to get your best scouring of the inside of the water mains. So that all comes with your hydraulic model also. Then another piece to the hydraulic model is also a capital plan. So they'll be able to go in and say, this water main here, you're deficient in this area of town for fire flow. You may want to consider upgrading your 2-inch water mains to a 6-inch, or your 8-inch to a 10-inch or a 12-inch, and that gives them a good idea. And then you can base the next 10 to 15 years of a capital plan. So everything sort of stems from around a hydraulic model. So when we're trying to get that done and start taking the steps. So.
No, I think it's fascinating, and although it certainly isn't the reason that Jason started looking into updating this, we're certainly hearing the word density more and more in the town, and I'm told that if something was proposed that would increase an area by 1,000 people, that if we had a hydraulic model, that might be another piece of information that would lead into the conversation. So that's just another like side facet of all the other things that would do, so.
And would you be able to add in, like, would you be able to play with it? So
Yeah.
once they do the baseline,
Yes.
then you say, like, oh, if there's a neighborhood and all of a sudden there's gonna be 1,000 new people, what needs to change?
Yeah, and you can do that. You can, what size water main needs to be brought down the road if we don't have the velocity. You know, we might have the pressure, but we might not have the quantity of water for that particular, could be a commercial industry, could be new apartments that are going in. The other thing is if we ever do a new tank,
Right.
should that tank be elevated 10 more feet? Is it gonna give us more pressure in town? Should it be a bigger tank? So there's a number of different things that this can answer for the system in general.
You know, one good point that you brought up was on the flow. When I think back over the years, how many times that we may put 2-inch main or even a 6-inch main when there was far less development in the area, these people would want town water. And for many years, we did that. Just got it to them. But it's a whole different picture now.
It is, especially when it becomes bigger and bigger.
Dramatic picture change. And, I mean, I can definitely see this water main size change. It's slapping a silly, because we got by all these years.
And then, will they also look at seawater inundation? What's the word? When the ground intrusion, yeah,
That won't be in the hydraulic model, it'll just be what's pumped
what's pumped.
and
Okay.
what's in the mains.
Thank you.
Okay. The next item is an increase to postage. Basically, the postage is constantly increasing, so we've adjusted for that. On to the next page is propane utility. We based that increase on our FY '24 actuals, as well as office supplies. Bulk fuel, the same thing. Bulk fuel is all through the highway department. We generally don't have the bid prices for diesel and regular fuel, so we do our best estimate for that. The next item, treatment supplies, we've decreased that based on FY '24 actuals. Treatment chemicals as an increase based on, we estimated what bid pricing could go up based on past history. So that's an increase. Public work supplies, we decreased based on prior fiscal years. I believe we had a leak detection equipment in that line item, which brought it up to the 92,800 in FY '25. So that's why now we can bring it back down. Service installation supplies is an increase based on FY '24 actuals, as well as water main replacement. Police details is a minor, is a decrease, and that's based on FY '24 actuals, and road repairs as well. Uniforms and safety supplies is an increase based on FY '24 actuals. Principal and interest are based on the debt schedule, so that's out of our control. Both of those are increases, and those do include estimates for new debt.
Okay, so I notice it says the Pleasant Lake tank. We'll obviously have to review the debt schedules,
Yes,
particularly with all the new items
Yes.
in there. But since we reduced that to 400,000 from 1.4, we'll have to look to see which one the number came from, whether it was the before or the after, I don't remember.
You're very, that's correct.
Yeah.
I carried forward
Yeah.
what Dan had planned out,
Yeah.
because now we've been in transition.
Right.
So we're gonna come back and we'll have,
I'm thinking that 75,000 was for the tank. I'm thinking that's gonna disappear, but we'll look at
okay,
that in
yes,
detail.
those
you
do
know.
need to be fine-tuned, what our estimates are. They were based on the previous year's estimates.
Right.
And then a
Work in
minor
progress. Yep.
decrease for, administrative
Step up
debt.
for a minute.
Sure. Yeah.
So,
Okay, I have,
yep,
in our packet, was included the sheet that also had, revenue.
yes.
And, so, I guess I'm always hoping to see more people join the water service type plan, you
We're
know?
slowly graduating, I looked it up just yesterday,
Yeah.
and we had gone up by like 50 more people.
Oh, okay.
So, we
Yeah.
are gradually getting
Right.
members
Yeah, okay.
for that plan.
Right?
What I wanted to share also regarding expenses is pretty much all the salary and wages are contractual. There's step increases, and then longevity increases if you are at that level. So pretty much the salary and wages are all contractual.
Yeah.
And I think it decreased based on the cover page, which,
Yeah, it did,
Yep.
with the switching people.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Um,
And so based on carrying indirects as level funded, salary decreased just by 0.38%.
yeah.
Expenses increased by 10.7%. Revenue increased by 0.94%. Brings our revenue projection without a rate increase to $5,367,819, less the projected expenses that we're proposing, $5,105,555, leaves a surplus of $262,265.
I'm gonna guess that that's gonna go up by about 100,000 once we fix our debt schedules.
Yep,
Yeah.
very well, exactly.
Yeah, which is good.
That being said, without any adjustments to what's being proposed here, this surplus doesn't meet your 10%
No, it
that you
doesn't.
wish
It absolutely
to
doesn't.
have added to the retained earnings.
Right.
So we also just did a scenario if we were to raise the base rate. That was one of the plans that Dan presented with rate increase throughout the next,
Yeah.
through years that have passed, actually. So if we just went up on the base rate, $10, that would be a $40 increase per person. That would, make our surplus $637,403,000, which would meet the 10%
Right.
that the board wishes to add to retained earnings.
And it's 10% of what, of our
Our
operating?
expenses.
Operating
Yeah,
expenses,
operating,
yeah.
yep.
Yeah, so, I mean, what this whole thing tells me is that I feel the board should start to look into its water rate examination a lot earlier than we did this year, because we're gonna really have to, we've had a lot of changes to the capital plan, a lot of expensive projects, so sometimes we wouldn't start that till like April. I think we really need to start digging into that in like at least March of this year. To project some changes, but that's when we'll have all those numbers. And also, I just had one question on the solar revenue.
Yes.
So I know that there was some change in formula uptown, and we're getting a better return.
Yes.
Which is great.
Yep.
So what did you base the 294 on?
3-year average.
Okay, that's probably pretty reasonable.
And that can be, we don't know, what that number is going to be each year. And we did have that agreement that was for a
Right.
period of years where we
Right,
took
right.
less than our
So-
portion.
I'm just trying to follow the column, so
Yeah.
FY '23, is that the actual we received?
Yes,
And FY '24, it went down to 132?
yes. And then it went up to 208.
Right, yeah. with the
Different
changes.
finance directors.
I know, it's been
Different
crazy.
distribution.
All right, well,
If they
wait,
didn't see the memo.
it's been going in our favor, we'll wait and,
So it's like, that's out of our control, what
Hey,
gets put into that
what
line
can I
item.
tell you, I'm sorry to admit, I was part of that memo.
But most of
was on
the-
the other side then.
I was explaining to Jason that the majority of the meters, electric meters, and the calculations that supported that array were the water departments.
Yeah.
And that,
All right,
yeah.
that's an
so-
old topic. We certainly can't reopen the solar discussion.
We don't know, but that formula, that 262 it could be less for our indirects.
Yes, right, so that could be less if, say, we get an indirects. I don't know, that could be presented to us. So the finance department generally provides us with indirects.
Right.
And they always go up.
Oh, I see
So
what
we're
you mean.
level
Yeah,
funding
yeah.
that. Thank you, Jason.
Right.
Yeah, we talked about that,
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
That's right.
I can imagine that we may get, here are your indirects budget
Yeah.
for this.
And we'll fight that.
Yep.
You know.
Yeah, well-
I mean, we'll fight that until we have a policy of our own, which is our own fault.
Yeah.
We don't have it, it's not the town's fault, but on the other hand, we're a relationship, we can't get to where we want to get while they don't have the financial staff in town, so, it's kind of and it's a lot of work.
Conundrum, yeah.
I
Yeah,
say, we're getting by.
That's right,
Yeah.
yeah. So, okay, good.
so we'll,
So we have, we'll have to hit those water rates early. I hope we don't have to raise them, but we certainly have to look at them.
first we need to look at the capital and what those estimated debt schedules were based on and what
Yeah.
figures, and maybe Jason and I can work on that
Yeah.
and bring back, for the
Yeah.
next meeting, a closer number, and maybe we'll have indirects or not by then, or not,
I don't think you will.
Yep.
You're dreaming. Okay. Any other questions on the water budget? On the draft water budget? So next would be the wastewater budget.
The wastewater budget, you have the smaller spreadsheet that looks like this. And it's a much smaller budget, as we know. Pretty much everything we've level funded, except for the Chatham IMA. And that, basically, we used the percentages that Dan had used the prior year
Yeah.
for increases. So we just increased what Dan had calculated. This is what Dan put together for the IMA calculation. So he really, it's solid to use, but we're always trying. He had a challenging time getting their budget figures. And so Jason mentioned he's going to meet with them. So we're going to probably clean this up. But at least we prepared for what Dan had figured
Yeah.
and used the previous year.
they went through a couple of years of personnel changes
Yes, I
as well.
know, yes.
But remember last summer, and I can't remember why, oh, it was because of the IMA payments.
yep.
We got in touch with the new head of the DPW.
Yes.
And he was brand new, and he
Yep.
seemed really enthusiastic and
Yep.
cooperative, so
Yep.
maybe our numbers between
New
the two new
DPW director,
people.
new finance
Right,
director,
yeah.
they've had a lot of changes.
Yeah,
So
but-
hopefully, and our new contractor,
the new
it's no longer Weston and Sampson, it's Veolia.
Oh, that's right, I still call him that, yeah,
Yeah.
I called him that yesterday. Okay, but so we can, I think things will go in a different direction where they'll set their own pace.
I did update the revenues and carried forward an estimate based on what we have received so far in this fiscal year, and I doubled it. So,
Well, Mike, I had a
oh, yes, I
question.
did, okay. So, yeah, we received, we're using 156,368, so we've collected half of that in
Right.
sewer revenue. So I just sort of doubled what we have right now.
So what was
Check.
our actual revenue in '25? Oh, we don't know it yet.
No, we don't.
Right.
Oh, well, the year-to-date is like 72,000.
Okay,
Yep,
all right, that's
yeah.
reasonable. And
Yeah, we
then
projected 50,000 for this year.
anything we go over goes back to our
Yes.
benefit
Yep.
anyway,
Yep.
so
Yep.
that's good. So we have to keep those people connecting.
Yep.
Great,
Yep, so,
all right. So any questions on the wastewater budget? No. So now we need to talk about our capital plan, which has gone through a lot of changes in the last year or two. And just to put it on the record, the capital outlay committee had some issues with their schedule this year, and normally they start meetings in August, and they didn't start them till 2 weeks ago. So at any rate, we had an opportunity to get in for our meeting yesterday. I'm sorry for the late notice, it all only came up on Tuesday. Otherwise, we would have all run into holidays and things like that. So Jason and I did go, and John came as well, to yesterday's meeting. And I have to say, for me anyway, it was a case of watch out what you wish for, because for years I had been somewhat critical of the capital outlay committee because they kind of stuck to a strict schedule of only 20 minutes per department and a very 30,000-foot point of view. No longer. That changed in the last 2 weeks. It was nitty-gritty, and I think next year we'll be a little better prepared for it, but considering Jason's only been here 2 months, I thought he did a fabulous job, and we were just asked a lot of questions we didn't expect to be asked, but it is behind us. We don't have much in this year's, so any issues that come up with that will be able to be held off for another year, so that is done anyway, so. And I think it was a learning experience for Jason. It certainly was for me.
were you going to vote to adopt this 5-year capital plan, or I don't want to jump ahead?
We may,
Okay.
once we review it, we might.
Okay.
I know that it has to be turned in this week, so, right?
We've already turned it in.
Oh, that's right,
Yep,
yeah.
yep.
So we'll vote it,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
if we have to
yeah,
re-vote it, we'll
absolutely.
do that. I'm trying to remember with capital plans, does that have to be unanimous or 4/5? I think it's at least
Do you
4/5.
remember?
I thought it was unanimous.
I thought so,
Yeah,
yeah.
so we'll see
Okay,
how the
okay.
vote goes. So at any rate, when we look at the water departments, luckily, to tell you the truth, I'm not even going to talk that much about the wastewater capital plan because it's only for one vehicle, so, not a lot there, our very first vehicle. So, get some of this crap out of the way. I don't know how we want to go through this year by year. I don't know, Jason, but they keep switching the order of the charts on us.
Let's do year by year.
Thank you, I appreciate
That
that.
would be so much
Yesterday
better.
when we got there, we
I had
had
it,
things
we
planned
had
in a
it
certain
year by
order.
year.
Yeah, and
And
how did
they-
they want it? I
They
don't,
wanted vehicles first, then project, they jumped
Oh.
around, and we weren't ready for
Okay.
that. And it just throws you off,
Yeah.
you know, when you're ready, but so be it.
It
So,
was-
go right ahead, I'll let you take over the introduction of the pipe
Sure.
discontinuity one.
So some of these got pushed a year from 26 to 27. I'll start with 26, 2026, the $100,000. That is for engineering for the pipe.
we're changing the names out.
Discontinuity.
So pipe discontinuity, I want to say water main upgrades, but
All right.
for right now, it's, because everybody has a problem saying pipe
Right.
discontinuity.
I like water main
We've been
upgrades.
stumbling around, I'm like, can we
Yeah.
change this
I was
name?
like-
Just to
That's-
something that falls out easier?
Can we make that, I like that too.
The water main upgrades is better,
All right.
because everybody goes, oh,
Yeah.
they're upgrading it, excellent, you know, and that's
Yeah.
basically what we're doing. So,
Yeah.
anyways.
Because there's probably a 2-inch main that needs to be
Right.
installed.
Yes, so that FY '26, the $100,000 is for engineering, set up some plans, so we actually get a good quote on what the bid would look like, and then we can go to town meeting. For the 2027, now we're moving to 2027, the pipe upgrade, water main upgrade of the 2.2 million. So that 100,000 will bring us to the 2.2 million, and that is just a number, I don't know what that's gonna come in at. It could be a lower, it could be slightly higher, but that's gonna give us a really good number.
When I was looking at the backup on these things, the individual project sheets, I guess for some reason I thought we had eliminated all the asbestos in town. So, and I guess I had a wrong impression. I was surprised to see that there were still some areas of that. And the reason I was interested specifically was because sometimes on the state websites, I've seen mention of grants and other things to do with the removal of asbestos. And I know I had a very quick conversation with Dan about it, and I thought that that didn't apply to us because we didn't, maybe we've got so little, you know, that they wouldn't consider it, but it's just something I wanted the board to be aware of. I know you talk about grants and we all poke around looking for them, so, we don't have a lot of asbestos, right, or?
We don't have a lot, but what we do have is it's becoming spongy in the ground, and it deteriorates. And when it deteriorates, it's really hard to control.
So DEP has a grant, it's due today, not the grant, but I think a letter of intent to submit a grant around brownfields. I can find that. So if it's leaching, right, or if there's the potential that it's leaching, maybe that money can get tapped into?
It could, and sometimes you really got to read those, because what happens
Yeah.
is it's for very small systems, where it's a population of 10,000 and
Oh,
less.
Like a real rural.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so, or it's for a very large system, so, and it's hard to hit that middle of a grant of the,
Yeah.
like 14 or 15,000 residents, you know, so it's really hard to hit that, but yeah, absolutely, could look into
Yeah, and
it.
this is brown.
Yeah, I just thought I'd
Send a
mention it
message
so
to
our,
the guy.
our antenna will be up because I
Yeah.
hadn't been thinking in those directions.
And a lot of the grants right now, you probably know, they're for like lead and copper, they're for lead services, and they're for PFAS. They're putting a great deal of their money into all of these, because the communities are just, how are we gonna pay for lead, copper,
Right.
lead services, so.
And this isn't for water per se, this is for brownfields, but if the asbestos is going to create a brownfield, maybe that's a workaround with this grant, because they have a lot of money in there. Like, come on.
They wanna get it
They
done.
wanna, yeah. Yeah.
Well, the other thing we can think about is beyond these two roads, there are other areas in the
Absolutely.
town, so if we weren't able to accomplish that for this project next year, maybe another area
Yeah.
in the future going forward. How are we on lead pipes?
Good, we have, from what I understand, we have no lead pipes.
I
We-
think I
we
mixed
have-
up lead with
we have-
asbestos. Am I right?
Yeah, so we have cement line iron, and we're getting rid of those, but no lead pipes.
Okay.
I double checked.
Any we had was gone long ago.
That's right,
Yep,
yep,
there was.
so. Asbestos, I'll really have to look in to see how many linear feet that we
Yeah.
have, but,
Well, don't do a lot of work, it was just, kind of an antenna thing to be,
Yeah.
it was something
Yeah.
that I hadn't heard mentioned here.
so, back to FY 2027, that was the $2.2 million. The 3.5 is the new well construction out at pump station, the well field number 10. That has been permitted from DEP. I've been in conversation with GHZ. That's the engineering firm that is doing the pump test and that's doing the design of it. They needed what's called a mod flow model. That was done years ago by a company called McLean. They're out of New Jersey. And they worked with another engineering firm up here. I was able to contact them, and I was able to get a copy of that mod flow file to give to GHZ, which is going to save them a lot of work, which saves us a lot of money. So,
Yeah.
so that was good. I just received that this week, and they'll be working on that. They'll receive that. They'll be working on that. But this $3.5 million will be the completion of this pump station brought into the treatment facility, the green sand treatment facility. And that will be all the work that will be done there.
There was one thing that I was a little confused about, or a little fuzzy about yesterday when it came up. And I do remember that we had projects from previous years. I remember the amount of 600,000, which we always called well exploration. So when we were asked if design had been included in that, I wasn't 100% positive, but it sounds like that was part of that previous project. So is there really, like in the 3,500, is there any design? I don't believe so.
For the 3.5 million?
Right,
Is there design? The design should be in, to get to this 3.5 million, you need a design for
Right.
bid. So the design for bid should be in that 600.
okay. I think it's a lot of with these things, it's just wording. We always called it well exploration, it's
Yes.
kind of like
Yeah.
water main update as opposed to this, and so I hadn't thought of it as that, so, okay.
And I like to, they did it correct. I like how, I can't say correct, they did it how I would have done it,
Yeah.
where they do the, your well and your design, and then you put it out to bid. Because some people will say, oh, you're gonna need X amount of dollars for this new well, and it comes out 5 years later, oh, I need an extra $1 million, so you're going back for it. At least you know, right, how much it's gonna be and how much the bid's gonna be. Or the town meeting article.
Where's this well going?
Pump station, the well field number 10,
Oh, yeah,
so it's right out back there.
okay.
And hopefully I don't have to go for a variance of a bathroom in it.
Oh, please, I don't want to, yeah.
I will. I think will.
I would like to write a letter, and I won't discuss it today. I think we need to learn more. Although actually, well, if it's part of the water thing, then it is part of our authority, but, we keep hearing about the $1.7 million bathroom in San Francisco. You're responsible for everything that happens in California.
okay.
Just so you
What do you want me to defend?
No, but I mean, here we're gonna wind up paying $500,000 in phase 3 to put a bathroom in a substation, thanks to the
So-
DEP. And in the future boards, that could be several million a year that this little town of 10,000 people will have to pay to put gender-neutral, accessible bathrooms in our pump stations, which is absurd.
Do you know, Does anybody know the reasoning behind that?
No.
This is one bathroom, right?
Change to a plumbing code, right?
Yes.
It's
correct.
Change to a
Change
plumbing code, recent
Yeah.
change to a plumbing code.
So this is the federal
State.
discrimination?
State.
No, but it's, I'm guessing that it's, the change in the code is requiring the federal, what is it? Disabilities, Americans with Disabilities Act?
It's probably.
Which-
No, it won't,
No?
it won't have anything to do with disabilities. I do believe, you can probably correct me
It's
if
a
I'm wrong, but
It's a handicap
I do believe
accessible
that this,
bathroom.
If I'm hearing this right, it could, it's, you know, diversity or something.
yeah, but
Is
you
it
don't,
under-
you don't need
Is-
you don't need you won't be holding any meetings there, or anything, it's just to
It's
go
a
to the
locked
bathroom. So
building.
you don't have to do all of the
Handicap?
handicap
Right.
accessible, or, you know,
And
things like
anyway,
that.
You just ask for a waiver.
Is that,
If there's no,
denied.
there's no waiver, because you're not gonna be holding meetings there.
so is there a tight tank?
There will have to be a tight tank.
Yeah.
Can you
So we don't
imagine,
need a
we're putting
bathroom.
in a $50 million sewer system, and they won't be able to flush it. There has to be a tight tank to accommodate
No,
it.
sewer system would be okay,
Yeah,
because that goes right back out there.
right.
Yeah.
But the water system has to be a tight tank, because
Oh, okay.
you're in a well field.
In other words, you can't open the door and piss outside.
That's what they're trying not to do.
Unmanned stations, they are
That's
requiring
crazy, but-
bathrooms after a certain square footage, right?
No, but-
Unmanned
but they-
stations,
we
they have
offered-
bathrooms.
We offered to reduce the size, and they still said no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
On Old Chatham Road, they made us put, when I worked for Robert Howe, we had to, because it was the, you know, all the trailers behind, off Old Chatham.
Yeah.
That whole area, the waste, they have a waste treatment plant. And the building's, inside is as big as this room, and they made them put, two bathrooms in.
But they
Well, that's why
did.
you want a gender-neutral bathroom, because then you only have to have one.
Of course, but
Yeah.
we had no bathrooms, so we don't want to go up to one bathroom for $500,000.
But there
Yeah.
must be a way that you can request a waiver if it's
They
not
did.
going to,
I don't
I mean,
think
it's
so.
not us, it's phase 3, so it's the town.
Yeah.
But from hearing at select board meetings, they went through everything they could, and Dan said, actually, originally, I think, remember, I'm just listening from
Yeah.
select board meetings, originally they wanted them in all 5 pump stations, and they got it down to 1. That's gonna cost this town $500,000.
well, is that because traditionally pump stations were manned? Or
No.
somebody spent,
It's a new plumbing code.
It's a new policy.
so it's got
Based
nothing
on-
to do with what the building is?
Right.
It's just gotta be that there's a new building, so it has to have a
Unoccupied,
bathroom.
I think
unoccupied.
it's
building.
square
Contractors,
footage,
right?
I think it's square foot.
That's what I was gonna
But it's
ask.
got nothing to do with
Yeah,
the
you have-
function of the building, whether or not there'll ever be people in it.
It's a locked building
Yeah.
with 1 parking
This is
spot.
normal. This is normal. This is the way
It's
it goes.
crazy.
Well, at any rate, when it comes to our water area, it would be nice for the board to write a letter to the Boston Globe and to the state, I think, to object if they insist on us putting a,
Why do you look at me?
So is
I'll be happy to write a letter to San Francisco. Let us borrow.
I don't understand why we can't write, or the
So-
select board cannot write a nice letter, explaining that it's a building that is monitored
Right.
once a week,
Oh.
or 1 hour a week, or whatever it is, and that, for us to put in this bathroom would be a financial hardship.
they have done that for a year and a half. They've been fighting it. I'm not making their
Are you
case.
sure they have?
I'm not making their case.
I'm just
Right.
saying.
If we want to do that
Did you
as an
see a copy of the
individual,
letter?
I may write a letter to the Boston Globe. But as a board, that's not our territory. So if somebody wants to propose a letter, that's fine. But it's phase 3, it's not our,
You know, when you think about it,
yeah.
think about the number of wells on this property and how long this building has been here with its septic,
Right.
flowing out the door.
Yep.
We had this discussion a few years back, and at this point, the whole feeling or thought was, it's not showing up in the faucet yet.
Oh,
Yeah,
Not a
Yeah.
faucet.
And do we pay for it, or does the town pay for it?
the town,
Okay.
it's phase 3. Yeah, it's not part of us. So,
But
Until
hopefully-
well 10,
No,
so well
so,
10.
yeah,
Well, that would be.
yeah,
nice.
if it's well 10, it's certainly us.
Yeah,
Oh,
so-
well, in that point, I would absolutely write a letter.
Absolutely, I
and
think we'll
I-
launch
I don't-
on
Who would it go to?
the DEP.
DEP? Yeah.
Sure. We'll keep that in mind for a future endeavor.
It's gotta go to the foreman board.
Can I ask
If
one
I'm
other
working there,
question?
Maureen,
Huh?
Can I ask one other
We can
question?
work with my
State-
copy of the board.
State.
What did you say, Judith?
and if I'm ever working
Yeah.
there.
Oh, okay, yeah, there you go.
They'll usually,
sorry, go ahead.
sometimes they'll give it to you.
I've been reading the governor's Affordable Housing Act that was signed with all that money in there. And there's a lot of grants for this, affordable housing that's coming through. But it has to be supplied with water and or sewer. Are we looking into that? I've been reading it because personally I might do some stuff at my house that there's money for it. And I was wondering if because we have to create this affordable housing, we have to make the adjustments to be able to do it. And-
Well, I know the planning board has been talking about zoning changes, that would be their,
But,
Well, they're talking about ADUs.
yeah, ADUs, but there's a lot of money in there for the construction of that and
Yeah.
apartments and all the heat pumps and things like
Yeah.
that. So I'm just wondering if our board wants to try to say, we have to, support that, but we need the grants to do it.
So,
what way would we support it?
Improvements, like you guys are talking about building that well, could we say, we're doing this to support, bring more
Density.
water into town?
Density.
You know-
Density, yes, that's exactly what we're
Okay.
talking about.
So, I mean, that's a great discussion for some time. I'm gonna use John's words about staying laser focused on the water department. And personally, my view is, I don't wanna get involved in changing our water system unless it needs it for the sake of housing issues at this time, until we know more. If we felt that our water system was inadequate for the housing changes being proposed now, I would have a different view. But right now, our water system is more than ample to handle anything.
If both of the big projects go
Yeah.
through?
Absolutely. As we looked into this a year or so ago, and we're absolutely fine. I mean, if anything were to come in, gigantic in the next few years, we might have to take a look at our irrigation allowances. That would be our first thing. But as far as drinking water and domestic water goes, we are absolutely fine for the moment. So I'm going to stick with that for the moment.
Can I ask Jason
Sure.
a question? With the new federal administration coming in, I've read a lot of newspaper columns from economists about supply chain disruptions with what the Trump administration is saying is going to be their policy for, bringing in, further tariffs. So my question is, if we're thinking of buying in 2026 or 2027 X amount of pipe or whatever, equipment, is it stuff that's already in the US, it's already manufactured, it's sitting in a warehouse? Or do we need to worry about that and try to figure out if we can buy it now?
it depends what columnist wrote it, whether they were a Republican or a Democrat, that's what I would say.
Yeah.
If that, now,
Like Wall
that was
Street
just.
Journal, so.
So most of everything that we get is,
Domestic?
yeah.
Okay,
The
so that's
pipes,
good.
the pipes, the hydrants, the iron, I like to request that on the contracts that we put out to bid, to keep it in the United States. And the United States, all of their iron, their gate boxes, everything, they're made a lot better. So that's the number one reason right there, is because they're gonna last a lot longer.
I didn't know if they had sent all that out too, yeah. That's good.
Some other things that we get from overseas,
Sensors and,
yeah, I don't think there'll be that. I think we'd know about that ahead of time.
okay.
Yeah, I do think we know
I'm
about
just thinking
that.
of the COVID days when.
Yeah, everybody,
Right.
yeah, in the tariffs, and will they come about, or will it just be passed on to the consumer? Will it be
Right.
passed on to that government that ships it in? I still don't think we really know.
I'm not even thinking about price, I'm actually just thinking about being able to get, but that's good that once the system made here.
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
good.
they're slowly, Ford, Mueller, a lot of these big companies are restocking all of their shelves right now. They're like working around the clock to get to where they were before COVID. US Pipe, another big pipe manufacturer, they're getting back to where they should be. And it's not that bad, and their prices have actually started to come back down a little bit, so.
And it's certainly a good thought looking forward, but I'll add that in February, the water department will be going out for its major bid on the Route 28 water main replacement, and maybe we'll see what happens with that one. Hopefully we won't have sticker shock or any other things, because we're not sitting on a big ton of money at the moment, so anything that affects anything is problematic, but at least we'll get that read. Let's hope it doesn't mess that up, so. Good thought, though. So that was the,
But we're on FY '27. The next one is a vehicle replacement for FY '27. That's
okay, so,
sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, it's me. So, I don't want to beat this up too much, but why weren't these anticipated earlier, like last year? I mean, you can't answer this question, Jason. So last year, if you were to see our capital plan as it was in the summer, the only things on it for FY '27 and out were the formerly pipe discontinuity, now water main upgrade project, and the new well construction. The vehicles listed, the 4 columns of vehicles were not there. There might have been one way out. And
Yeah, I think it's because my recollection is we thought we were gonna be waiting a lot longer than we did for the one that came in. And then it would go on.
So if you would like, we can table that topic,
okay,
and
I like that a lot.
and yeah, in next meeting, I may have an answer for you
Yeah.
on why they weren't there,
Okay,
and then,
okay.
because
yeah.
I don't know if anybody actually really knows, and so I'm
Right.
gonna try and get to that
Yeah.
point where,
But I want to emphasize, I don't want to spend a lot of time unraveling the past, I really want to be looking to go forward, but
Yep.
it was a question that came up yesterday, and we frankly didn't have an answer, so, I mean, whatever, I think Jason and I realized from yesterday, maybe we have to have our vehicle plan and schedule be more well-known within the board, at least in everything, because we were kind of tongue-tied. So, all right, yeah.
Wait a
Brendan.
minute, let me leave that. You say you were kind of tongue-tied.
Yeah,
I mean, this is the first time I've laid eyes on it.
right,
And in the lineup of vehicles we have, and I forget what the years are, but like the replacement in '27, there's got to be a service truck that's probably 10 years old.
for '27,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the 350,000, that's our dump truck.
Oh, that's your dump truck?
That's why it's so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Alan, can I explain?
yeah.
Just to show you, this is from last year, and look at this section. I'm not questioning whether or not we need those vehicles. I'm just saying that they hadn't been submitted and listed. If you look at the out years on water, there are no vehicles beyond that, but yet this year's that was set up to them had them on it. I'm not saying we don't need them by any means, I'm just saying,
Yeah, but this is over a period of years too,
so, yeah, and so was that.
27, 28.
There was nothing,
Well, there was more things to think about.
yeah. That's all right. That's why I don't want to beat up, what we did, but it's just,
And again, I could, the next meeting I have a better answer for you
Yeah.
about the vehicles.
and it wasn't,
an answer.
Put the conditions on and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 That's good.
it was just a little
More
awkward,
to talk about.
yeah.
yeah.
I know, because they were looking at me, and I'm like, I
Oh,
don't know.
my God.
And when I did the narrative,
Yeah.
those weren't included in the
Right, they weren't
narrative
in
because they
there
weren't
either.
in our 5-year plan. And the town, we historically has had the 5-year plan is a
That's right.
big issue in the town, and not changing it unless, you have to.
Yeah.
And our board it's unanimous. If there's any changes, Tracy wrote, it's unanimous
Right.
that you have to vote on that.
And we
So-
voted on the plan in the
Yes,
spring.
last year.
These things weren't on there.
That's correct, that's
And now they're
correct.
on there. So
Yep.
it's just true, to be honest, we have such a reputation for a high standard with our numbers, our paperwork, our department, our everything. It was, we blinked, and so it's a learning experience and a difficult year, and we learned.
I still think you
Yeah.
most likely voted on these, but it was,
No, we didn't,
no?
Yeah, no,
Oh, okay,
Nope.
yeah, yeah.
I,
It was-
BFJ.
But,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was before you.
should we talk about them again? How many miles long
Yeah.
and stuff?
Oh, yeah, they're all
That's
justified,
justified,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, but give us an outlook on the whole.
Yeah,
picture,
right.
you know?
Yeah,
So, you want me to keep going?
yeah.
All right. So, Alan, that was, you just finished up 2027 with the 350, that is the dump truck.
Yeah.
Um,
F-350?
Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go to FY '28, the 1.5 million, and that is that was put in here, I don't know if it was a space holder, I don't know if that's engineering or if that's a whole building. I am unsure of that, we just carried that over and carried that in.
Yeah.
And I guess we will have to discuss
Yeah.
that a little bit.
This came up yesterday as well, and I do remember when the chair mentioned that she had asked Dan about it last year. This was about the discussion we've had for a few years about the vehicles leaking fluids too close to the well zone, the vehicles that are kept outside. And, we talked in general about, do we move the vehicles up to Queen Anne Road, or do we build a building so the vehicles can be inside and not leaking out and stuff like that? And it wasn't until the chair mentioned that she had asked Dan last year, she questioned that amount of 1.5, and they didn't feel it was sufficient. But of course, our plans aren't real plans yet, they're just, ideas. So I guess my conclusion was that sometime in the next year, or maybe the board can even help, that we do start to look into this project realistically, because, a year will pass like that. Because her
Is that
feel,
this building you're talking about here?
it's the outside vehicles,
Yeah, the
Oh, the
outside,
outside.
they don't wanna leave them outside, they wanna put them in, cause
Yeah.
remember they had the inspection,
right?
the state
DEP.
came in, was it
Yeah.
the
The
state?
state came in?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, they come
And
in regularly,
recommended.
and this was,
they recommended, that's what,
yeah. But their feeling, the capital outlay board's feeling was that Link had put a similar style building. I don't know the size, I don't know anything about it, but it was 9 million. So they felt that, looking at a figure of 2 million-ish was pretty low. And of course, we're in a different situation. If we can't afford it, we can't do it, So at any rate, I'm asking the board to kind of think about ways, along with Jason, that we might start to realistically explore this during the next year, so that come next fall, we'll have a better grip, even though it's not for 2 years, on what we're doing. I'm not quite sure how we do that, but any volunteers who want to think about that and look into it. I'm not much in building design,
I'll look into it.
but, okay. John?
I'll help you, John.
Yeah, all right.
So, and then, and just on that real quick, and that is it gonna be a garage that's gonna be out back? Is it gonna be
They wanted a metal building.
Right, right. So is it just a garage? Is it gonna be a garage office? Is it gonna be, because once you start putting offices in there, you start getting into,
Bathrooms.
You're gonna have to have that.
You're gonna have to have
bathrooms in there anyway.
Well, it's an office.
yeah.
But I mean, it's just the open building, 2
Well-
bathrooms and.
And just so Jason knows, part of the original discussions, there was a serious discussion about whether or not we take part of our vehicles and those types of things and move them up to Queen Anne Road where there's room by the transfer. I'm not suggesting we do that, I'm just letting you know that it wasn't always, it's not in stone that we stay here. Certainly, we all like to stay in our one home in one place, you know, but it's an open topic.
Okay.
All right.
So that was a 1.5. The 220,000, again, is a vehicle, is a couple vehicles, 2 vehicles.
Oh, the 220 is for 2 vehicles?
Yes, that's correct.
And we're gonna have to vote on this, so today, so if we have any questions on these, please ask away.
So that is the E350 van, and that is the F550. So one's for 70,000, one's for 150,000.
And I wanna clarify what I just said, since it was already submitted, if we wanted to wait to vote, I suppose we could vote next meeting. But
Yeah, absolutely.
either way,
Yep.
by next
Yep,
meeting,
Yep.
if we wanted to do that. Sorry, go ahead.
May I
Jason.
also just quickly add?
Sure.
Similarly on this topic, through the years, the town has separated capital items with vehicles and equipment. And so there used to be, in
Right.
last year, the forms that we submitted, one was for equipment, one was for projects. This year, it's one form. So I think that's why some of the vehicles
That may have
ended
been,
up here, because we have them in a plan,
Yeah,
but we pay for them mostly out of retained earnings.
Right.
And do they need to be on the capital plan? And it sounds like from the newer capital outlay chair, that they want them separate. Like, it sounded like maybe they want to look at all the projects and maybe the vehicles separate?
No, they
They want
want
them
them-
all mixed together?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we were right to list it this way.
Yeah.
right.
But in the
Right, we
past,
didn't.
some of the
And-
vehicles
and-
haven't made it onto the
Yeah.
capital plan because it's been considered
Our
vehicle
own business,
replacement.
yeah.
We pay for it out of
Yeah.
retained earnings. It's
And,
not.
and I absolutely, I'm glad you framed that way.
Okay.
I wish I had had that vision in my mind yesterday,
Yeah.
you know, but, you know, that's why I say there's no point in going back over what we
Right.
did in 2021,
Exactly.
what was done in 2023.
forward.
I mean, we know we need the vehicles, that's the
Yeah.
real issue, you know, it's just a question of paperwork, so
Okay.
don't do a lot of work and try to figure out why
Yeah.
they were or why they weren't, it's just, it's, you
Yeah,
know.
I think some of them were secondhand too,
Well,
which put them in a different
Yeah.
accounting.
No, that makes sense to me,
Yeah.
that what Sandy just said, I'm gonna reflect on that. Thank you, Sandy.
Yeah,
You're
so,
welcome.
so that's the, I was gonna say, so the other directive that they were taking on this was any vehicle over 10 years, get rid of it, or mileage.
But they don't,
That's what they're going by, that's what the DPW is telling,
oh,
that's what the DPW is saying to Steve. They're saying anything that's over 10 years, the DPW is getting rid of.
but why, we don't have a lot of money. We don't have the resources that the town has in the DPW. Why would you get rid of something just because it was 10 years old?
So they're giving Steve the directive of that.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that we have to
Right.
do that. So we're taking a look at everything.
Okay.
On what we do.
Yeah.
On some of the vehicles that are used quite a bit. Let's say they could have 80,000 to
Yeah.
100,000 miles on it. But the idle time on the side of the road,
Mm-hmm.
their idle time is like it has 235,000 miles, because it sits on the side of the road and it idles a lot because it's near a job.
Yeah.
It's near a job site, so those can be critical vehicles on there being used so much. So they're taking all this into account, along with repairs that are needed, along with the body rot, things
Yeah.
like that. So that's how they're making, and we could look at the vehicle and go, no, for what it's used for, we're totally fine with keeping this another 5 years, another 10 years, because it's a solid vehicle.
And I'll just say for the record that I hope we stay with our practices of going by our own judgment and usefulness, because fine for the DPW establishing that thing, but their new vehicles come out of free cash, so it doesn't even impact the price you pay for a trash sticker, it impacts nothing. Whereas our new vehicles come out of our own money, so we would have to increase water rates to follow that policy. So as long as we keep that in mind, that we'll follow our own best practices as an autonomous board, that's what I would vote for.
But, you know, there's a two-way street for that. If you keep the vehicle too long,
Right.
no money's gonna get spent.
Yeah,
And then you don't have dependability.
yeah, and that's what I agree
I think
with.
they've been handled pretty well over there.
I do too,
Town-wide.
yeah, yeah, right.
They, at least we're not out there pushing them anymore.
I've got a 2017 F-150, it makes me want to trade it in now. Because I got 120,000 miles on it. Maybe it's time.
Just time to let it go. You know.
I
And
don't know,
the-
my
I've
car's
been
got
lucky.
like,
You push that to the limit.
I haven't pushed it, I always
And-
do.
I drive my cars to 300,000 easily.
And the idle time is where it gets you. I guess
I don't do
there is a
idling.
clock. There is a clock on the engine now.
Oh, really?
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
so your computer, the computers that they have in them, they can tell how long it's just been sitting running for.
And they consider
That kills
that.
me environmentally, like, why don't we have lights that we can put out versus letting a truck run for lights? Do you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
is
I'm
that
just
what the truck is
environmentally, I'm like,
driving?
ah!
No, you're right.
It just seems like, oh my God, you're not
Well,
supposed to let
lights
vehicles
or is
idle,
it
but you know what I
like a
mean?
pump or
That's
something?
That's
personal.
been such a long-standing argument.
It could be for tools.
One
It could be, to be honest with you, one of the big things is
Yeah.
protection.
Yeah.
And electric vehicles are out, right?
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
never be able to.
They're
do
not
it.
there yet.
No, you'd never be able to do it, yeah. You'd be running extension cord from the person next to the house. Hey, can we plug this in while we run?
Plug it into the bathroom in the pump station.
Plus, they want them for heat, you have to, the
Yeah.
guys are
Jump
cold,
back in the
Yeah.
car.
they gotta jump in and warm
Can't
up.
blame 'em.
Yeah.
So, and then and we got this, some way we gotta get around this, but on the new vehicles now, you're on the side of the road, you have idle time, you have your lights on, your vehicle shuts off.
Oh,
Right.
New emissions by the federal
Yeah.
government.
Yeah,
Well,
How
that'll
do you get
disappear
around
if
that?
you-
Mine's, I have a 2015 and
I
mine's like
I
that.
think that if it's for police and fire, they don't have to have that, but anything beyond police and fire, if you have a vehicle, it automatically shuts off. Whereas now the DPW and all that, all these other, we have to have that.
So what do you special order it? Is that what we have to do?
They don't know if they can change that for the DPWs or not.
Are you talking about when you come to a light, it'll stop?
No, I'm talking about
This is
if
electronic.
Yeah, this is
I pull
electronic.
up, I put my truck in park, I put the lights on, because I'm going up and talking with the guys, okay, contract comes over, next thing you know, I'm there 30 minutes, I walk over to my truck shut off.
Oh, wow.
Oh, mine doesn't do that.
The lights will continue to go, but you may get in and you may have a
Battery.
battery that's dead. So they're not allowing the trucks to continue to run, and that's gonna be a serious issue.
Is this only on diesels or?
No.
No? Wow.
On everything.
Wow.
At least we'll have to write out those tickets a lot faster.
Yeah, there's my old boss just got a brand-new F-250, and he's like, I can't believe this. I called up Plymouth, where we get all of our trucks, and he goes, they said, there's nothing we can do about it. It's a federal regulation now.
Wow.
Because my truck I'm on the side of the road, and I'm dealing with paving crews and different things, and I walk up to it, and it's shut off.
You just gotta get an automatic starter
Yeah.
with a
Yeah.
long distance
Yeah.
clicker,
Yeah,
you
Good
know?
idea.
yeah.
Because it's
That's a
just a
thought.
digital thing.
Mhm.
Or take it over to the tech school and let the kids at it.
Yeah, take it.
We'll just
They'll
pull it
figure
right
it
out.
All right, so.
Almost there.
2029, same thing, that is a 165. These 2029 and 2030, they're both vehicles. 2029, that was just where it's a,
Recurring, is that a
Re-
recurring one?
yeah, the F-350, 90,000, and the Ford F-150, if it's still in good condition, we're not gonna get rid of it. And 2030 would be another F-350.
It is what it is.
So,
And it's,
go ahead.
all of a sudden, on the back here, we're gonna give you a little overview. Steve, you have a couple of pages right here that tells you the vehicles that,
Right.
so it's gonna give you the mileage, it's gonna give you the age. Again, I like to look at the mileage, absolutely. I like to look at the age and the condition, or the reason that he put there, why we want to trade it in.
No, this is great information,
Yeah,
great.
Steve did a great job on this,
Yep.
putting this together, and he does,
Please
he does
thanks,
a,
Steve,
Yeah,
for us.
you did do a great job.
he does a really good job with the vehicles
Yeah.
and working with the DPW and the mechanics and getting them. He does a great job.
Okay, so the capital plan is subject to change up until the spring, getting ready for town meeting, and really anytime it's necessary. But since there have been so many changes in the years and format of what we've done, our vote is out of date. So we would need to vote on this. And if people want to wait till next meeting and vote, that's okay, but I don't, nothing is
Let's vote today.
going to change. So I would entertain a motion to, and it does have to be unanimous if we make any changes to our capital plan. So I would entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved?
I'll second.
Aye.
Aye, Alan?
Aye.
Aye.
So
And
that's
I'm an
done.
aye, so that's done. And now hopefully we'll only take 20 seconds on the
Yeah.
wastewater plan. Which I put aside, but that is the very first wastewater vehicle, which we had planned to come in for next year. And if anybody has any questions?
I don't.
And we have to vote on that. I'm gonna wait for Alan.
Does that have to be unanimous too?
Yeah. Which could be 4, but might as well. I don't think Alan's a real long talker. What do you think the odds are? Yes.
I'll make the motion we approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
All in favor? This is on the wastewater, just one truck, Alan.
Aye.
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 You and I, Alan, on a
Yeah, aye, aye.
wastewater truck? Aye,
Aye.
aye. All right,
Can I ask one question?
sure.
It says a 5-year capital plan.
Right.
Do we need anything else for wastewater?
Not that we know of.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet, not yet.
Yeah, we did have collection, wait, collection system maintenance will be coming into this at some point.
We got it last year. That
Yes,
was
I
what-
know, but I
yeah,
don't know what the
okay.
frequency will be.
Yeah.
That will be up to
Yeah.
Jason to determine.
Yeah, needs will come up,
Yeah.
but right now, that's all we
Yeah.
know of. so.
Yeah.
The back truck,
We're
oh, yeah.
new, we're a new department.
How much is that gonna be?
So, next,
$550.
next meeting, we'll bring back the budgets and vote then?
Sure.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Just go for those couple small areas, let you guys, and again, we can continue to change that up until
Yeah.
town meeting, so just to be official. So, that's a lot. Let me get back to my, I need like a separate table.
We'll order you a side desk.
Artificial
I
intelligence.
use Bob's here.
Waiting for the agenda?
No, I have a secret agenda with my,
gotta be ongoing,
with my notes on it, but, at any rate, next is the liens, so I'll let Sandy talk
Yep.
about those while I
Yeah.
search for my,
Each
Secret.
year, we transfer outstanding water balances that are uncollectible to the tax side. So it's
Oh, put the
via
lien.
water lien, it puts it on their property tax bill. And we do this every year. The amount is $14,834.86. We generally run around 17, so it's even lower. And we also get back most of this because the banks pay the escrows
Right.
and that is included. So we do, I haven't updated you guys with stats over the past history of this, and I'm due to do that. But for the most part, we get a lot of this money back. And so we need your approval for the lien processing.
Second.
you want us to state the amount to be,
Yeah, it should be good to have it in the vote.
I've lost it.
For just approving our liens,
Right.
where FY '25 is fine.
and what's the amount? Can you
It's
just-
$14,834.86.
Okay, and Alan was the first, and do we have a second?
Second.
We have Judith, all in favor?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, bear with me, folks. So we're done with the regular session, or actually, I had some questions, but I will find them. So next, superintendent's report.
Okay, some of this we went over, but I'm gonna update. The valve insertion machine has been put out to bid, and that's for the Route 28 project, so we can insert the valves into the water main, so we can have a positive shut-off on that.
Can you tell me again how that works with the valve insertion?
The valve insertion, you have so let's say you have a 10-inch water main. You're gonna clamp a valve onto it. You're gonna put basically what's called a cutting head on the top of the valve, and that cutting head goes all the way down to the water main, and it actually cuts a slot in the water main. You pull that out, what's called a coupon. You put a temporary shut-off in. You put the top of that valve back on it, pull the temporary shut-off off, and that creates a gate valve for your water main, if you could understand that.
A little bit. So that helps in water breaks, but also not water breaks.
Yes, it basically will help shut off the water in case of a water break.
Okay,
And it's gonna help the Route 28 project, where we're gonna shut off fewer customers when we start doing the tie-ins.
oh, okay.
So from what I understand, in order to shut Route 28 off, you have to shut a very large portion of that off. You can't just shut off small individual pieces.
Interesting.
And with this valve insertion machine, you'll be able to shut off the small individual pieces. At the end, each of those valves, I do believe it's a 10-inch water main, so each of those valves is about $1,000 an inch just for the gate valve to shut it off. So it's $10,000 a valve, so we're gonna go and we're gonna put them in. When we're done with this project, we're gonna go back and we can take those valves out and reuse those in the system.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
that's good.
So we're trying to repurpose a lot of what we're doing, so we'll be able to get that out. Maybe we have to buy a new, I don't know, a new O-ring to put it in, but that's minor compared to spending another $10,000 on a valve somewhere.
That's great.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the engineers looking ahead to those projects to get the
Yeah.
things we have
Yeah.
in-house, so those projects will go smoother. That's great.
And the other thing about the valve insertion machine is, I don't know how we could do this. I'll have to come up with it, but I have Dennis, well, I know that I'm sorry, not Dennis, I have Brewster and I have Orleans that want to partake in this.
Really?
So they said if we
Oh,
have
you can
a
swap.
emergency, can we
Yeah.
give you a call?
Well,
That's
emergency, it's always great to help, but another
Yes.
thing I think about is that Robin, who runs our cemetery department,
Mhm.
years ago, she invested in that,
Ground radar.
that's right, the ground
Yeah.
radar, and I can remember when I was working for Eastham, we used to pay to use that
Yeah.
stuff, not that I wanna stick it to our neighbors, but just something to keep in mind, that the town does have a system for charging
Right.
other towns if it became that substantial for rental and use and stuff, so,
So with this type of machine,
Yeah.
you really have to be trained
yeah.
when using it. So it would almost be beneficial to just say to the guys, on a Saturday, the Brewster needs a valve.
Mhm.
And they'll have it all dug and everything. We'll have a crew go over there on a Saturday, install it for Brewster, and Brewster would pay.
And bill them, yeah,
Good.
great.
And then it would give the guys,
Overtime.
Yeah.
overtime, it would give them some money, and then
Win-win for everybody.
it's a win-win for everyone. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So, and there could be some other things. I don't know how we go about it, but this is something new. So, the valve insertion machine is definitely something good to have.
And about how much did it cost, or will it cost?
I'm gonna say just about
And
$100,000.
how are we paying for it?
We are paying for it out of an article, not out of an article. It was in the budget, wasn't it? Or was it in the article?
I can't, it wasn't an article.
No, it's not, it's within it's within the Route 28. It was
Oh,
lumped
okay.
in as part of that, and
All
that's
right.
why
That's
we
what I
wanted the
thought.
borrowing, because we wanted to put this out to bid like 6, 8 months ago.
Okay.
But the borrowing hadn't happened for that article,
Okay.
but it's included in that article.
So since the borrowing hasn't yet
Yeah.
happened for Route 28, I'm wondering how we'll deal with that, but we don't have to.
They'll have to fund it, because the article, I believe,
I'm sorry?
the town will have to fund it, so to
Right.
speak, if they're waiting for borrowing to happen.
Right,
In my opinion, because they've already populated and created an article and funded it. So
Right.
it's been approved at town meeting,
Yeah.
they have funded it,
right.
so.
Oh, yeah, no, that's
I
fine.
thought that the borrowing did happen.
It might have happened
I
last
think it
year. I'm
did.
not sure. It
I
was
think it
such a.
did happen.
Well, we'll have to get the
Yeah.
schedule on that. now.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Part of the Route 28 project. Great. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so that was the insertion valve where there'll be some training in-house classroom, and then there'll be field training. We'll have 2 separate crews doing it. And then for the next, I don't know, 6 to 12 valve insertions that we do out in the field, we'll have a rep come down that works with the company, and he'll be there with us when we start to do these. So
Great.
if we have questions, and he'll be right there with us. So that'll be good. The tank painting, the painting of the tank, I'm gonna be working on that to get some bid specs for that. So we don't have a bid on it, just we have it, it was a town article, so I'm gonna get some bid specs. I'm working on that now. Station number 10, the new pump station, new water pump station, we went over that earlier. The hydraulic model, I'll be meeting with someone on next Wednesday on that to see where we are and
Busy.
and get that moving along. Though, well, 11, the vernal pool monitoring, I know that you had said something about the testing. We're running all new conduit down to the vernal pool to put in transducers that are gonna automatically monitor the wells that are there. And that will come back to our SCADA system.
Oh,
And what that's gonna do is that's gonna generate a report for the DEP that they're mandating. So they want a monthly report through DEP. Through the vernal pool, DEP wants a monthly report. Within that monthly report, the guys have to go down and they have to walk through grass that's about waist high. And then when they come out, they're loaded with ticks.
Ugh.
oh,
So I'm trying to get away from that. I don't want to put them in
Yeah.
that,
Right,
in
yes.
harm's way. I don't want, anybody coming down saying I have Lyme
Right.
disease
Yeah.
or anything like
Right.
that. So Steve and I went out there. Right. We went trucking through the woods and we came back and Steve's going, I got another one.
Oh, no.
He picked 8 off of them
no, I
that
don't
day.
want that.
Were they deer ticks?
I don't know, they were ticks.
Probably was.
Whether it was a deer tick or not, I was like,
You guys went down at prime time.
oh, yeah, we did. We went down in dinner time for them, so. The whole day we were gone.
Maybe you guys should have blood tests, just to, seriously.
Well, we
So-
appreciate the dedication.
Yeah. So,
nasty
we're gonna be running some conduit down there. I've been,
Great.
I've been in contact with the SCADA people, and we're getting set up to have all that information brought back, so we don't have to go down there.
Good.
So that's gonna be,
And, even if it wasn't that difficult, anything that involves the state after waiting 14 years for a new water management that we can automate, seems like the way to,
and just
Make
years
it
down
as
the road,
easy
because
as
they want
possible.
a 5-year lookout on this.
yeah,
So for the next 5 years, it's so worth it.
right. If we tell them we spent money, they'll be thrilled, so.
And it would be cool if at some point, like anybody's got time for this, but just to include the high school kids, like the environment classes, to, maybe not to walk down there while the ticks are down there, but just to, I don't know, loop them in with the SCADA system so that they're it's a learning thing for them too.
So sometimes during Water Week, I don't know if
Oh,
you've
Water
ever heard of
Week,
that.
yeah.
Water Week, I like to open sometimes, open up a treatment facility to have people come in and see what we do.
That would be
That's
great.
good.
Yeah,
Because what people do is they drive right by, and they have no idea.
No idea.
They just say, we just see you guys driving around. The only thing they see
Right.
is water tanks and fire hydrants.
Right.
And they just see us driving around. And I'm like, no, that's not all we do. So, and it's a good thing for them to come in and look around and go, wow, we didn't know you did this.
Yeah, that would be cool if you could do that.
And my last thing would be the grinder pump bid.
I haven't looked at it yet, I'm sorry, but I will this week. Why, is it already going out?
Nope,
Okay, are you waiting on me?
nope.
Okay,
So Mark was here at 7:30 this morning, and we were going over some of the different things on how we want to distribute on the warranty on them, on different things like that,
Okay.
and how they're going to be brought here. Things
Yeah.
like that, quantities, and so we're working on that. And
I'll have
this-
some comments next week, I promise, because
Yeah.
I'm not looking at the specs or anything on your pumps, I'm just
Yeah.
looking at the overview.
And it's good, because this bid that's going out right now is only for is only for phase 2. So whether it's 10 or 15 in phase 2, it's only for phase 2, this bid. Phase 3 will be under a total separate bid. So this is like the learning bid for us,
Okay.
I guess is what you could say.
Yeah.
So whatever we don't get right on this one, we'll change and get right on the next one. So, and I'm
Sounds
trying to,
good.
in the bid I was just telling Mark today, I go, in the bid, I found a 5-year warranty on it. And in that bid, the warranty does not start until
Installation?
inspection.
Real, that's what we always wanted.
And I
Good
said,
for you,
Mark,
Jason.
look, I go, it's right here. And he goes, you're
Wow.
right. He goes, that's sort of an open-ended. I go, it is, so keep it in there.
Right.
So,
And the other piece that I don't want to completely give up on is, I'll get all the words wrong, but that system, whether the resident buys it themselves or whether it comes as part of the package, where they can have some kind of an alarm inside their house, a sentry system that tells them when the battery is off or that the power is off, so that they have some warning. And
yeah.
then it further tells them that, like, okay, it's off and you have 36 gallons left.
Yeah.
That usually equals 10 flushes, you know, so I just want to,
Absolutely, and I can
Yeah.
ask him to look into that.
Yeah. I found the name of a couple of companies. I'll send you that when I send my comments, you know, so.
Absolutely.
Again, I don't know the prices or anything how they work. I just thought if, you know, you had a situation, wouldn't it be nice to be able to be told, you know, when there was a problem,
Yeah.
so. Okay,
And that's,
but that's great on the warranty. All right, I have one question for you, which is, could you let us know how we're doing on Vicksburg and Bay Road?
sure.
He said with huge enthusiasm, okay.
So, that has been identified from what I understand right now as a construction problem. During construction, they laid that, we had that surveyed and that was laid flat, what they say now. We will be having a meeting on the 21st. I do believe that's next Thursday at 2 o'clock with Joe and the Caseys.
Oh,
Is it RJV?
I think so.
RJV was invited to this meeting.
right.
I do not think they'll show up. I don't know if Eastwood Company has been invited or Barrows.
Now, Eastwood was the installers
Eastwood is the contractor that built the house.
or the house?
Barrows put the line in.
Barrows was the installer?
Yes, working on the Eastwood Company.
Oh, so they hired them as part of the purchase of the, oh, it gets even,
That's what I mean, this is
It's
like the
even
perfect,
messier.
this is like the perfect storm.
they didn't hire Barrows directly.
Right,
Oh, my God. Okay.
and this was a brand-new house.
Yeah,
So this all took place, and then they signed on the house, and they took over the house, and then this happened right after they signed on the house.
now I understand why I've been seeing Eastwood in it. I couldn't figure out what their role was.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I will have more information after next Thursday's meeting, and who they're gonna direct this problem to. But,
Like, what do you mean, who?
well, it could, there's a potential that they have to redo the main that's
Oh,
in the
okay.
road.
Yeah,
And if they have to redo the main in the road, it could get into, and there's 4 other people that are already connected to that main.
right.
So it could be a large project. I don't, and we're gonna be looking to the engineers to say, we need corrective measures or action, and what are they gonna be?
Okay, so another question I have, and the more you say it's part of construction, the less it becomes this department's issue, which is sad for them, you know, good for us, to be honest, but, so the overseers at the time, CDM, would have been supervising the work of RJV. I didn't hear CDM mentioned in that list of people involved in the discussion. And I know you don't control the attendees.
Right, so RJV could bring in CDM.
I think they should.
Right.
You know, by all means.
So it could have a snowball effect on
Right.
who is gonna partake in
Right.
this.
So it's not the lateral,
It's,
it's the regular.
The lateral, you mean from the curb stop to the house?
No.
No,
I'm saying, from in the street,
in the street to the curb?
no, in the street to the
To the
waste
house.
treatment plant.
So
As long
you have a
as-
manhole in the street, you have a manhole here in the street,
Yeah,
a manhole here in the street. The house is over here. The lateral comes out and connects to the main in the street.
okay. All I'm asking is,
What's going to the main, from the manhole to manhole,
yeah,
that's flat.
okay, all
And so
right,
nothing's moving, is that what it is?
okay. People use
Didn't
different,
CDM design all of that?
yeah,
So why would they bring CDM in now?
because they also oversaw, part of the contract was they
Well, the clerk
oversaw
of
the
the works,
construction.
yeah.
Are they gonna fix it, or are they
No,
gonna
I
make it a
would,
bigger
I
problem?
would, I would think they'd charge them, you know, you know,
That means
it's
they
not
have
our
to raise
issue.
up the,
Oh, bringing
The lateral,
CM
too.
in.
Yes,
To
all
fix
four.
As a person of responsibility
Yeah.
involved.
I thought you were saying,
No,
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 no.
come in as a
Right.
consultant
No,
to
no, no.
solve it.
No,
That's
no.
Like it gets better.
They signed off on it.
Got it,
Yeah.
yes.
These houses that are connected are backing up.
One is,
Oh my God, those poor
Yeah.
people.
okay, yeah, they are, and I don't know, has anybody considered, I mean, Tracy said this, just putting this small area back on septic tanks even,
I don't.
rather than opening up the road?
I don't,
What?
I don't know what they're gonna do.
When sewer's available, they'll make them.
no,
All right, I just,
I wouldn't.
I thought it was a good idea, Tracy.
Like, you know what, it's probably a lot less money to put those five
Probably
houses
is, yeah.
back on a septic system and say, sorry, it's been a learning experience.
Seal up the
We'll add more later.
Then
Than
they're
it is
getting
to do
sewer
that
payment.
whole road.
They won't
Yeah,
do
Yeah.
but they could do an innovative system, it'll be
But-
cheaper,
Yeah.
less
Yeah,
maintenance, actually.
exactly.
Where was RJV from? Where are they
I can't remember.
from? Off Cape somewhere.
They are off Cape.
I think they're
RJV.
Brockton.
So, are you at the meeting on the 21st?
I am at the meeting, yes.
Are you gonna, can we give me 10 and
Yeah.
we'll rush through?
Well, that's right, you
Okay,
don't
thanks for that update. So
Wedding
now
or something.
we're gonna speak.
Oh, yeah, that's in December.
Okay, I've been given a very fair 10-minute warning, so,
10-minute point.
yeah, no, reasonable people have to leave. Don't blame them. Okay,
And
so.
you unreasonable people can stay.
Just take California with you. All right, okay, folks. So just a heads up, the town has reinstated its annual meetings of boards with the select board. Remember, every year, they used to have 3 or 4 different meetings, so they're reinstating that. So I will be sending out to you folks, because you can either just send in a report or you can show up in person. I figure we show up in person, those that are available that night. But I'll be sending out to the board in advance my 2-pager thing like Gary used to do on what we've done for the year, just for any input you might have in advance of that, so. And then, whenever we are scheduled, I'll let you know. If you can make it, great, but if you can't, it's not the end of the world. It's kind of a formality. Second thing, on just a heads up, will be, I believe we're getting closer to getting the results on a salary study for the position of superintendent, and as soon as that's ready, I'll be sending that out to the board. We can discuss it immediately after it's ready at our next regular session meeting. It doesn't need to be executive. And, if we're happy with that, we can send it up to the select board, as we mentioned at our meeting, for their consideration whenever they're reviewing all of their bylaw employees. So that's going on. Another quick thing, annually, the board always approved, it's just a small amount of time every year for the employees that they got off every year. They have a luncheon they go to, and by our approving that day for them, that way they don't all have to troop back to the office. So once Sandy has the details at our next meeting, we'll vote on that as our gift. But also, what the board used to do was, we used to give out really just a token of thanks, $10 Dunkin' Donuts cards to each employee, and Gary used to handle that and distribute them with the superintendent's help. And I'm happy to do that, but I'm wondering if, with inflation and everything being what that is, if we wouldn't want to consider increasing that to $15. If we leave it at 10, of course, we have one new employee, it's $30 per commissioner. If we move it up, it'd be 48. It doesn't matter to me. Well, it does matter, but I'm leaning towards the higher amount, but just want to hear your thoughts.
Is it a conflict if I offer to donate
Donate what?
coffee gift cards instead of to the seal, because we open at 6 a.m. for coffee?
It's like, why go there? If we've been doing Dunkin's for
Somebody will find a problem
20
with that.
years,
Yeah.
why,
I was going to save the money, but.
Well, I know, but, I'd rather not get into something that could be a discussion about a board member or something,
I'll be there.
I'll be there too.
I'll buy us some coffee.
I didn't know you opened at 6.
Oh, yeah, we do breakfast.
So,
Yeah.
I'll be there.
I'll be there.
so what's your, what are your thoughts?
I don't like Tompkins, but it's up to you.
It's not for, we don't have to drink it.
It sounds fine to me.
What do you think? Gift cards? Thanks.
Oh, you guys waiting for my answer?
They're waiting for mine too, so.
Yeah.
I think it's, yeah.
What'd you say, $30?
No, it'd be 48 if we moved the amount up to 15 from 10.
We get more money?
No.
We use the lean money or something. Do we need to vote on it now?
No, we don't vote on it, I'm
Okay.
just trying to hear your
I'm good.
Yeah, I'm
opinion.
good, too.
It's nothing we ever voted on, it's just something we, do as individuals.
I think we're in agreement. right?
Oh, okay, all right, I didn't read the lips, okay. So I'll look into that and give you the details at our next meeting, it's real early. Now, the last thing is, I was really trying to figure out town hall's schedule in terms of how often they have Jason in meetings to not conflict with them. And it just seems like they're, not regular anymore, and you can't anticipate when they're gonna be calling for Jason to be there. So Fridays isn't a great day for the department. I blame myself to this, I'm the one who suggested moving it, but I'm wondering if we consider, I'm accepting that Wednesdays and Thursdays are bad for 2 of the board members, for you and,
I can do that.
but you have a problem, right, on Wednesdays?
I mean, unless we did it like 8 in the morning.
We,
I can't.
I just have Zoom
right,
commitments. and-
yeah, no, that's all right, if you have commitments, we
And I
can.
don't get to change those
Yeah,
schedules.
no, I know. So maybe we go back, Jason thinks that we could work around Tuesdays at 9. He thinks one way or the other, because he thinks some of the meetings, he would say he wouldn't go up to, they aren't that, critical. So if,
Gives you an excuse.
yeah.
I'll send somebody else.
Try not to say that on tape. But,
Steve will like
and
that.
Mondays are bad,
Good
Mondays
experience.
are bad for the staff. And Fridays, a lot of
Yeah.
employees want the day off and
Sure.
then somebody else takes minutes. So shall we move back to Tuesdays at 9 and do our best to get them regular? It's impossible because now we're hitting the holidays and Jason's vacation, so it's just we'll call New Year's when we start off fresh. So I'm gonna suggest our next meeting be December 3rd.
Is there any way we could start at
No, it's Danny's
8:30?
birthday,
I'm gonna ask for,
my son's birthday.
okay, so, excuse me. The problem is, and Tracy, I don't wanna put you on the spot, but I guess I am, they start at 8:30.
Oh, I thought you started at 8. Sorry.
We do walk in at 8, actually. 8.
But are you on the clock at 8?
Yeah, on the clock at 8.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you just have commitments at 8:30 or something?
Yeah, it's just I'm very often going to Boston, and that's
Oh.
a 2-hour hike, and
Well, I don't
Yeah.
think anybody at this table, you have the,
I've got stuff until close to 9, so,
on Tuesday.
well, every day, really.
All right, so then 9 o'clock.
at least it's earlier than 10.
Can I borrow your magic carpet on occasion?
Yeah, which I
Or a
like that.
jetpack?
No, I appreciate everybody trying to work together. All right, we'll try Tuesdays at 9.
Tuesdays at 9.
We'll try to get more regular
Breakfast.
after the holidays. And our next meeting will be December 3rd at 9 on Tuesday. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Hey,
Oh my
thank
God,
you.
already?
Yeah.
Happy Thanksgiving. So December 3rd, did you say?
I think so. Does that look like a Tuesday?
And are we
Yes, it is a
thinking like
Tuesday.
every other Tuesday?
Well, yeah, but not till after the holidays. It's
So I
still
should
such a
put it on the
mess.
calendar.
You know, I mean, we're not gonna be here on Christmas Eve, that's for sure, so
Yes.
I don't think we're that
Right.
cozy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we will try, but Jason's got a vacation in there as well, so
Right.
maybe we can